What is going on, everybody? We're back at it with another episode. Of course, like always, I am going to ask you guys to make sure you like, share, subscribe. So, really fast in the chat, how is everybody doing tonight? We had a little technical difficulties, but we got through to like always. The curse of the king, of course. And we got Eric already in the chat. Okay, Dogs of War. Okay, we'll get into it in a minute. We're getting into it in a minute. I want to talk about a few things till the guys show up. Has anybody checked out the news lately about Assassin's Creed? I am a huge Assassin's Creed fan. Like, to the point, like, I even have a tattoo on it. The game was delayed. Oh my fucking god, I can't believe it's delayed. I'm disappointed because I was looking forward to them so much. But things happen. Besides that, has anybody, I know Eric has probably already checked that out, anybody checked out the Vince McMahon documentary? I seen the first episode. It's an eye awakener. I'll give you that. It's a huge eye awakener. I would say definitely check it out. Me and Paul will be doing a show pretty soon on that. And I'm not sure we're going to be doing a hangout show or a gray area show. So I'm trying to figure that out. So really fast, guys. Whoever watched war movies, I'm a huge war movie. I'm a military buff guy. If you have seen any war movie, tell me your top 3 in the comments. I am curious to see which ones you guys like the most. Is because it's something that I think everybody should at least check out at one point. Let me check one little thing here really fast, guys, because I am still getting emails from who's showing up, who's not. Yep. Give me 1 second because the link is giving me issues for some reason. Let me send this back to Paul again, and he should be jumping on. Give me 1 second, guys. I apologize. So, my favorite movie. Oh, hey, Mariana, what's going on? Hopefully you had a good workout today, because I know you've been busting your ass in that gym. So, with war movies, I have a lot of lists. One of my favorite ones, 13 Hours. 13 Hours is a great movie. Side thing, I actually met Chris Tanto at a book signing, excuse me. Great guy. And meeting the guy who survived the 13-hour incident versus the movie versus the book, huge eye awakener. Another good one who probably would say Paul Harbour's not my favorite one. How can you talk about more movies? I was talking about Black Hawk Down. That's another great one. War movies can go for hours and hours. We can talk about, like, I can go on and on. So, which one is the one I did not like? I seen recently was what was it called? Civil War, actually, because I expected it to be more action packed, but it wasn't really. It wasn't action packed. It was more talking about press, the press, how they doing the jobs during during a war, how they go record this stuff. Again, it wasn't. I wasn't impressed. It was not my cup of tea, and I know a lot of people are staying away from that movie right now because of with elections and everything, and I don't blame them. And I know Paul said he didn't really want to watch that for that reason, and I respect that. So another one, American Sniper, mind-blowing movie. I have done a lot of research on Mike Murphy. Mike Murphy was an incredible person. I got fascinated with his life because of the movie again. Lone Ranger, again. I'm sorry, Lone Ranger is Mike Murphy. I'm sorry, American Sniper with Chris Tanto. Again, I followed his career when he was on what show was that? American Guns, when he was working with Gunsmith. Another great movie. Trying to think of another one. Trying to think. 12 Strong, another one. Fury, another. There is another one. I can go hours and hours. I'm just gonna name some off the list really fast in my head, and I have my list right here actually. Red Dawn. A lot of people say the original is better versus the remake. I personally like the remake, but it's something that I personally like a little better. Again, this is my personal opinion. Saving Private Ryan, another great movie. Full Metal Jacket is a good movie, but it's not on my top of my list. Another one. This is a war movie, but it's a different type of war movie. It's Hacksaw River. Again, a great movie. Let's see what else I have here. Give me a second, guys. Go down the list. I have some of these double listed for some reason. I don't know why, because I wasn't thinking. Nope, that one I already said. So the first thing I want to ask everybody is, we have some ground rules for you guys out. War movies. Are we talking about war movies including medieval times, or are we only talking about movies into modern era guns? I think we should be only talking about modern with guns, because that is what make them so good. If you want to talk about historical movies, yes, that's what we will talk about. That's different. That's another one. Here's another one I forgot to mention. We Are Soldiers. Again, another good one. Jarhead. Good movie, but it's not on my top list. It's up there. Trying to think of my list here really fast. I'm going back and forth. I apologize, guys. Tear of the Sun. Another one. Again, this is a good movie, but it wasn't on top of my list because it wasn't as full of action packed. Zero Dark 30. Zero Dark 30 is such a good movie. So let's get this guy in here. He's in the middle of the elections. He took his time to join us. Let's salute the president. Mr. President, how are you
What's
tonight?
good, everybody? Can you hear me?
I can hear nice and clear.
Cool.
So, the first question I want to ask you. First, how are you tonight?
I am good for a change. Wasn't racking my brain for the last few weekends, so I got a chance to make a Saturday dinner, my pasta and gravy. So I was able to enjoy a good meal and, have a fairly relaxing weekend for once. So
I actually saw
I
that on
took it. I
Facebook. You
took it.
posted a couple clips on that. They look pretty good, actually.
Yeah. It's it's a family favorite. So anytime I suggest it, and also Saturday's my cheat day, my off day. I eat anything I want on Saturday, especially after a grueling training session earlier. So it's feed on. So we went to a diner afterwards. So I got me a stack of pancakes and had an omelet. And so
Nice.
tonight I had the spaghetti dinner, and so I may end the night with like a nice protein shake later.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely, got to get the calories in, get the build the body back or whatnot. And I'm not. I sort of defy some convention when it comes to sort of healthy eating. I think you should do that most of the time. But I think letting your body have some crave foods and whatnot, I think is good for you. And so yeah, so protein and fats and sugars when you're somewhat in a depleted state help to build the body back a little bit faster. So I like doing that. You're not going to find me eating like a chicken breast and steamed broccoli and rice after a workout. I'm going for the good stuff. So so yeah, this is part of the recovery process that starts today and into tomorrow. But Monday I get back on a more strict and more controlled diet at that point until my leg day. And then I don't have a day, I have a meal. So I don't go totally off the diet. It's kind of, I give myself some additional carbs, use some oatmeal with some maple syrup and some additional toppings in there. But Saturday I eat literally anything I want. It doesn't matter what it is or how much. And the crazy thing about it is I don't find myself eating a ton of it. You know what I mean? It's like if you don't eat that stuff all the time, a little bit is enough. And so, so I definitely tell them full, but it's not like I gotta go. I gotta just keep eating. No, I don't need to eat a whole box of donuts or something like that.
I think that's why a lot of people are a big fan of the intermittent fasting because you have the window. It's
Hmm.
very hard to overeat in that window, and that's why
Hmm.
I think it became very popular. I know some trainers say it's a fad. I don't think it's a fad. I think it's actually a good place for summer in your diet if it works for
Yeah,
you.
I'm kind of in the middle on that. I wouldn't call it a fad. I just simply though at the end of the day, usually you eat less,
Hmm.
right? So if you're gonna eat within a window or whatever, you're gonna eat less. And again, if you're gonna be eating meals more frequently, you're not gonna be able to eat as much. So I think it's just a calorie restrictive. And again, you're gonna be a little smarter about the meals that you do decide to eat within that window, whether it be a 12-hour window or 8-hour window or what have you. But at the end of the day, most people who are on it, I think they just eat less food. And I think that's the reason why they have the weight loss and everything else that happens
When
with it.
I was on it, I was reaching my goals every single time.
Hmm.
So I know I was never under eating. I was eating right need to. Sometimes when I was not fasting, I realized I was overeating sometimes because I didn't have that cutoff for me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's why it worked really well for me. So the other question I was gonna ask you, how's the election going for you?
How's the election so far? No one has stepped up, so it looks like I am going to be unopposed unless Mandrell decides to shave his head.
The
I'm running
question
unopposed.
is his wife is gonna let him shave his head because he's on a leash now. I heard.
Is that the rumor now?
Yeah, he can answer himself whenever he's ready to turn his camera on and turn his mic on. I'm like glad he's on actually. Mandarin, what's going on, my brother? How are you? Is your mic on mute? Maybe. All right. He may be a little camera shy tonight because it's been a while since he came on. Um, so Paul, to Mandarin figure his situation. War movies. I'll give it a panel. Timmy, what your comes to your head? First shot. Go for it.
It's a very difficult question to ask because I think I came on just as you asking the question: what are the ground rules and parameters for selecting war movies? Are you going to ancient times, or are you going to more modern weaponry
So
and
here's
things
the
of that
ground rules.
nature? Yeah,
So we are talking about modern stuff,
I
the
got you.
World War II, Vietnam, stuff like that, and up. So it has to be a firearm in it. It has to be. It doesn't have to be historical or accurate. Even like Battle of Los Angeles could be counted one. Trying to think another one off my head. World War Z. That could be considered as a war movie
I
too.
wouldn't consider that a war movie.
Yeah, no, I know that's a bad
I would.
example, but you know what I was
No,
trying to say.
I generally with war movies, one, I try to go for historical accuracy because I think just especially when you think about the 20th century, right? There
Mm.
was so much conflict, really the late 19th century and into the 20th century. There were so many conflicts that are so rich in scope in history to it that you really don't need to add anything to it. Like these, you can spend your whole life studying these things.
Absolutely.
Uh, so I tend to stick with some of the, if not historic, at least it's tied to an historic event. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't have to be accurate in terms of the story being told,
Good
but it's got
example.
to be told around events
Yeah.
around an actual event that happened.
This is a good example. Behind Enemy Lines, that is not a real story, but is based on wartime stuff. So I think that would be exception to our rule. But I don't want to go too far back, like sword fighting, for example. I think it has to be
Exactly.
with a firearm at least. Now, would you say like say Starship Trooper too far out?
No, way too
That's a
far.
cutoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, and plus you're talking about, I mean, weapons and things that are that are fictional that don't haven't even exist yet. The Terminator movie, like if you look at the opening of Terminator 2,
That's too far out.
it's too far out. Yeah, yeah.
Good
I
movie. Don't
like
get me wrong. It's a
staying
good
with
movie. Let's get that out of the
it.
air.
It is, and that opening sequence to Terminator 2 is one of the best. Is in terms of opening scenes and whatnot, and certainly the whole story of the resistance versus the the machines and whatnot. I thought that was brilliant. But
Oh, absolutely.
but
I
I'm gonna
think.
keep my
Go ahead.
films and there's a lot of them. If you ask me for a Mount Rushmore right now, I don't think I could tell you. To be fair about it, but I really am going to separate my films into, first of all, two major categories. All right.
Okay, I'm listening.
So you talk about war movies. I do include the Cold War
Okay,
because
I
that's
agree.
the world that I grew up in. That's the one that scared everyone to death. And I think that, it was such a tense time in terms of just to live in those times. I remember drill still. Get under your desk if there's a fallout or something like that. I mean, it was such a tense time growing up in the Reagan era or that era. So I put. In fact, I'm just kind of putting the rankings in now. So I have Cold War movies that are definitely in my viewing. I do have war movies in that there's actual combat that's going on,
Hmm.
and I have movies that really it's really not a war movie per se, but it's about the the cost of war. Like like it's not so much on the action per se, but on what it does to people, if that makes sense. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm separating out um, I'm separating out certain movies based on war. To me, the three most interesting wars, certainly that I've either studied. Obviously, I didn't live through any of these, thank goodness. But as far as movies that, wars that are most impactful to me, one is the Civil War. You have um, World War II, and you have Vietnam. I think those three, and like I said, and then you have the Cold War, which basically from 1945 until 1990, Cold War movies. So I have certainly I have these three categories of films that that I have to, if I'm going to be honest about, um, if I'm going to be
Closing
honest
question I
about,
have for you
yeah,
right now: are we talking about Boots on the Ground only, or
no,
like Top Gun and Red Tails? Can we count those too?
you could, I wouldn't, but you
Hmm.
could. Red Tails definitely, because that was a World War II centered film, and it was historically about, again, the Red Tails, the black pilots. So you could
Yeah,
certainly
great
add
movie.
that in if you want to. I wouldn't. All right, they at least they I like the movies, but they didn't make my tops. So I have categories here. So as far as the Civil War,
Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
yes,
can
we
hear you nice and
can.
clear, brother.
What is going on, man? It says it sees my camera in the options and it's connected to it, but it tells me that it can't connect to my camera, so I
That
can't
is weird.
do video. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to
No,
do
no
that
problem.
sound
No
check.
problem. No problem at all.
Hey, everyone.
Hey,
Hey, brother, heard
missed you the
heard you.
other night, man. You bailed on me.
No, 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 no. I had something big came up,
I understood,
huge,
brother.
and
I'm busting you, man.
I know, man,
I know
it was
I know your
unavailable,
character. You good.
unavoidable.
We good. You totally good with me. All right, so let's start with the Civil War.
But to
All
be
right.
honest, you did call it. I did
Yeah.
not see that coming. I didn't
I'm
see that coming. I
shocked you. I'm
really.
shocked at you. All the crap you talk about Anthony Joshua for years,
Yeah.
and you choose him that night. I'm like, dude,
Here's the
that was the
thing. Teddy Atlas said it best. 2 fights ago, you could have bought Dubois at a garage sale. He was nobody. He was nothing. 2 fights ago,
that's right.
you could have bought him at a garage sale. And you telling me he's going to go up against, excuse me, AJ? I didn't see it happening, especially not.
Look, I saw
But
the
then
I
when you
saw
watch
the
the fight
man's I
and you
saw the
see,
man's last three fights, and the guy stepped up. I mean, he really coming off of, first of all, you can make an argument he won the. Sorry for this tangent, guys, but we're just chopping it up right now. Again, people made an argument that he legitimately locked Usyk down in that fight. That wasn't a low blow, depending on who you ask. So that was sort of, but he
you can
did,
ask me, it wasn't a
but
low
he could,
blow.
but then he quit. I get me. He could have continued on, but I don't know what happened. But I mean, he was well into that fight. Then the two fights after that, he really showed me some guts. and AJ, it's hit or miss. That chin is always suspect or whatnot. And
Not
so I thought he'd be a live dog. I said it was a 50-50 fight. He was a
it
live
was
dog.
it was
He,
not that chin was not suspect that night. He just got clocked.
Mhm.
That's all. He had his hands were too low, and he just got clocked right in the
But I
belly,
wasn't
dude.
expecting
He
Dubois to
was just
come
a
out
better
that
fighter that
aggressive
night.
either.
End of story.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it was
he
good.
AJ just got. I mean, the shots he took, dude. It's like AJ, put your hands up.
Yeah,
They're too low. What do you do? Of
yeah,
course you're getting hit, and it's like
yeah.
it's funny to watch him get knocked out. I ain't gonna
That
lie.
was that was
I
good.
enjoy seeing him get
You
beat up.
enjoyed it,
I did. I enjoyed seeing him get beat up. I
man.
did.
That
All
was
right,
surprising though. All right.
really fast because you're up. First of all, how you been, man? I haven't talked to you in a while. Give me a little update. What's going on with you, bro?
I've been well. I've been very well. Marriage life has been good to me. So here we are.
I'm happy to
There
hear
you
that.
go.
So I want you to give me your opinion about war movies, and I know you're
Hang
a
on. Did you
soldier.
want to hit? Hang on. You want to hit my list first, or you
Oh,
want
I'm
to?
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We can
I'm
go ahead.
sorry
All
for.
right. Let me just go. So again, so I hope I explained the ground rules here. So I get 4 categories here that I classify movies and also eras. So again, Civil War, Glory,
Mm-hmm.
and Lincoln. To me, those are my best movies of the era. All right, that covered the Civil War era. Glory and Lincoln. Glory about the Negro soldiers, and then Lincoln. And I thought it had a lot of war footage. It had a pretty comprehensive look at the brutality of the Civil War and the cost that was paid. So I thought it was. I think Daniel Day-Lewis. I thought he did an excellent job. I think he won an Oscar for that. I think for his portrayal of Lincoln in that movie. So again, excellent movie. Then I got World War II. I got Patton. I got Downfall, which is a German movie based on the last days of Adolf Hitler in his bunker. I got Midway, which mostly covered the Battle of Midway. And I got Saving Private Ryan. So those are my best World War II movies. Then I got Vietnam. I got Deer Hunter. I got Apocalypse Now. And I got Full Metal Jacket. Those are my top 3 from the Vietnam
I
era.
agree with every one of those.
And then
I agree with every single one of those Vietnam movies.
right, and then Cold War.
How's that coming from?
Not me. Not me.
Trying to figure where the hell it's coming from.
All right, so the last category is Cold War because that to me is the most. Again, that's really the only era that I know of. That I grew up in. So Cold War, I got Fail Safe, I got Firefox, Clint Eastwood, I got 13 Days, and I got Ice Station Zebra. Those 4 movies are my top as far as covering that. If I wanted to add one more to that, I would add War Games, even though it was kind of like a sort of a sci-fi type of film. But War Games again scared the crap out of people back in 1984. It just did.
Another one I would say people scared of Red Dawn also.
Red Dawn, yeah. As far as the invasion of again, didn't make my top. I liked it. Didn't make my top. But I remember War Games just being such a because people thought that. Yeah, these computers, what are we doing if one of them makes an error or something like that, miscalculates? Again, 2 of my movies here, Fail Safe, same thing. There was a computer glitch that led to these pilots being ordered to fly to Russia and drop the bomb on them. And the whole movie was about how do you stop this? How do you stop these planes from going and bombing Russia? And the ending, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the ending is one of the most gut-wrenching that I've ever seen. And I remember seeing that movie when I was very young, and it still affects me to this day. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like the decisions that were made at the end of that film. So those are the ones that really impacted me the most. And so my 4 categories: Cold War, Civil War, World War II, Vietnam. And Vietnam is probably the most interesting because to me it was less about the war, but it was more so about what it did to people. That was the first ones. All the wars up to that point were kind of yeah, there's kind of like a righteous cause, so to speak, for it. Whereas with Vietnam, nobody knew what the heck was going on. Why are we here? Why are we fighting this thing? There was so much uh, um, so many decisions being made and whatnot in there that it just filed up, and we've never recovered from that. We've never recovered from Vietnam in terms of the cynicism. People talk about the times today, why people are so cynical today. It all goes back to Vietnam because we were lied to by our government. And so, because of that, we've never looked at war and warfare the same. We were never willing to pay the cost. 58,000 U.S. soldiers died in Vietnam. We have never paid a price, nor are we willing to pay a price like that again because we were lied to. And
But we
people, the
did.
American citizens, I don't think will ever stand for. I mean, we talk about Iraq was like 3,300, and people were just like, oh my gosh, how do we do that? We lost 58,000 in Vietnam. And we can't fathom those numbers today. And it's not because of our technology and whatnot. It's just we do not have the heart to go in and do something unless we get like another Pearl Harbor or something like that, a type of event. We had the 9/11, but we didn't lose those kind of numbers. But if we were getting in talking about, well, we got 1,000, we lost 1,000 last night, that's not gonna, that's just not gonna fly with the American public anymore. So I think that those movies and that really told you the ugliness of U.S. policy and really I think it soured people just overall. And then we still dealing with soldiers who came back from that, didn't get the help that they needed, and all the stuff that they had to deal with when we came back and everything.
I mean, still dealing with because we don't get anything like that whole thing with the VA.
Mhm,
I'll get to like if you include TV shows, then there's one called SEAL Team.
mhm,
I'll get into why I like that one above most others these days. But anyway, there's one episode where this guy he's so a friend of his who used to be a SEAL. This guy's currently a SEAL on the SEAL team, but he's his
mhm,
friend who used to be a SEAL, but he got out because of injuries. Right. One of his injuries was TBI, traumatic brain injury. This is real. That's why it resonated with me because I suffer from TBI. I have
mhm.
a former teammate who suffers from TBI. His is worse than mine. You know, his is much worse, in fact, than mine. Even though mine's pretty bad, but it's an invisible injury, so they don't treat it because they can't. You can't diagnose it literally. You know what I mean? Unless you just exhibit certain symptoms, but the guy's not getting health care from the VA, and then they get into why. It's like, okay, it's an invisible injury. Nobody comes and reports it, and
Right.
if they do report it, we don't know how to diagnose it. We don't know if it's TBI or PTSD. We don't know, and that's the truth. The doctors really don't know. And so, one of the doctor told him, he said, "Listen," because the guy ended up committing, unaliving himself, and so the SEAL that was his friend goes back to that doctor. So that's it. That's it. Are you happy now? You know what I'm saying? Are you happy now? It cost him his life. He gave it, you know what I'm saying, this, that, and the other. And so the doctor said, listen, you're talking about a government who can't graduate 50% of this population. You think they're going to make something like this work? I'm
You have a
literally
great
doing everything
point
I
there.
can. It was a fantastic point. It was a fantastic, that's the part that hit me. I was like, that's a fantastic point. A fantastic point, you know. But yeah, I brought that up because you're talking about veterans coming back from Vietnam and still
Mhm.
not getting health care. That's still to this day.
Right. Right.
I literally used to make a living helping veterans. Like they pay me to tell them how to win their claims with the VA, and they would, and I tell them exactly what to do. They did it, and they win. You know, but you have to get in there and really learn the ins and outs. No one tells you how to do it or what to do or what to say. You're left in the dark. You don't, and then no one tells you what's available to you, what programs or what treatments available to you. It's a class A clusterfuck still to this day. And I remember when I first got out, they were still cutting multi-million dollar checks to veterans from Vietnam because of errors that they had made all that time and all that money had accumulated over time. They're cutting out $1.5, $2 million checks. The thing is, they literally had to pay them. They had no choice because there's no way the government was going to win that lawsuit. And as opposed to losing a lawsuit, they'd rather just pay the money and settle it.
Wow, I didn't know that much.
Yeah,
I know I have a lot of friends in the VA who were ex soldiers like King and so on, and they work with VA, and I know that's what they do. Like you said, they're there to help veterans, but I didn't expect it to be that bad, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's something I do for free. So whatever they paid me, they did just because they wanted to. I never asked for money. You know what I'm saying? They literally just, hey man, listen, I never would have been here without you. Just please, for me, just take it.
Hmm.
Okay, just for you, I'll take it. But yeah, grooming, it's a mess, a huge mess that because again, like I said, veterans don't know. There's so many different programs out there, but no one knows what's available because no one tells you.
And I also seen a lot of veterans who know the problem that they don't want the help. They're too embarrassed or too afraid to ask for it too.
Yeah, a lot of the guys you have to talk them into it, but and so that's something that kind of weighs on you, but you can't let it because that's something that person is not going to be able to be helped with. They have to do it themselves. That's something that's a journey that they have to walk themselves.
Right.
You can try to convince them all the live long day, but they just we're stubborn. You know what I'm saying? And you're not going to complain to a veteran. Oh, I'm going through this. You're not going to complain. Number one, two things you're not going to do. You're not going to complain. And if our minds made up, you're not going to convince us of shit. Our minds made up. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
we're stubborn. We are, and that's the thing, man. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is.
So a question I want to ask you, because I know you're a veteran, you went through yourself. Now, could you sit down and watch a movie, or does it affect you in a different way?
They don't affect me because they're fake. They're not very realistic, to be honest. Even one that I consulted on, man, the Hurt Locker. I,
You
I
consulted on a Hurt Locker? I didn't
I
know that.
did. Yeah, I did.
Oh
There's one
wow.
event that I was actually present for that actually happened in the movie. I'm surprised they kept it in there because the rest of it was such bullshit. I was like, oh, they kept this in there? Oh, cool. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, I remember that. Not exactly how it went, but yeah, that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? But that's the essence of it. But yeah, there's several things that were there was a couple of things that I was actually present for that they kept in that movie, and yeah, man, I can sit there and
So
watch them.
so you were around, were you enlisted at the time of the Iraq War 2003, or that's too soon for you?
I enlisted in 2002.
Okay, so you were in there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what?
I was there when war was red hot, man. I mean, it was still a shit show.
Right.
Like you and I haven't had you, Paul. You and I haven't sat down to talk, man. But if I get to talk, telling you the war stories, you're gonna be like, number one, how are you still alive? Number two, like, what the fuck? Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's why you'll never like everyone who was in special operations, like I was. All of us are like, we never should have been there.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
We
like
never should have
Vietnam.
been
It's
there.
like Vietnam repeated. You know what I mean? It's like it's the same kind of uh, um, thought process, and then people wonder why aren't people enlisting? Because when again growing up, it was like they made joining the army, like those commercials they used to run, like be all you can be,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
in the
yeah. I
Marines
remember that.
commercials where it's
Yeah,
like you can be one of the greatest soldiers, the few, the proud, and the Marines.
I
I
remember
mean,
that.
there was such a thing. It was like positive, you know what I mean? It was like man, we played soldier men. It was like an honorable thing until we found out later on. It's like, do you really want to join something like that when you know that they're not gonna be honest with you about what's really going on? And it's wonder that they want to say, oh well, it's because of LGBTQ or something like that. They have problems with recruiting. It's like, no, I don't want to get
So
in some stupid stuff.
I don't know if you, man, I don't know if you catch our interview with my best friend CQ. He's also a veteran. He's been shot several times in Iraq. So on his show on the Pop Culture War, he was talking about he had this guy coming from the movie called the Outpost, and in his personal opinion, that is the closest movie he's seen what he went through, getting shot at and everything. And the other thing, I know that we're not talking about video game, but I want to throw this out there really fast. 3 Days to Fallujah is its only most realistic video games he has playing. And literally, they literally walk you through what they've been through. Is realistic, like to the T. Like you get shot once, you're done, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah, but here's what I will say though is that We didn't like Vietnam. We shouldn't have been there, but this time we actually won. It looks like we lost because of the way we pulled out and the way the news media covered it. But fellas, we kicked ass over there. We really did. It was a shit show, yes. And there was a lot of confusion, especially in the beginning when I first got there. A lot of things were just it's like what the hell, you know what I'm saying? But we still
Mhm.
made it through, and we still like, yeah, dude, you're not messing with American warfare. You're not. But the Taliban was smart. They knew that all they had to do in Afghanistan was wait us out.
Hmm.
They knew, like the real ones. They knew. Um, they didn't expect us to be there that long as we were. But yeah, it's just, and we never should have left while we were in there. Why pull out now? You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. And the logistics of how we pulled out was just atrocious, absolutely ridiculous. So, and I don't know a single person who liked it or thought that was okay.
Hmm.
Not one person. It's just, but yeah, should we have been there? No. But did we win? Yeah, we did. That's the only difference between Vietnam and this one.
Well, like I said, my thing is again, I don't think we're willing to pay that price though. Like you can't, can you even? No one can fathom 58,000. That forget. I mean, just you know, we can't handle that anymore. Someone would have to drop like a nuke on us before we be willing to sacrifice those kind of bodies in such a venture. I mean, it's just like when you think about it, um, also how long it was. I mean, we were there like 20 years. People talk about the 60s or the 70s. We were there since 55. We were up in there, and then Kennedy sent his quote unquote advisors up in there, and we were it just thing just got drawn out, and just but it really escalated in 67, 68 with Johnson. He really opened it up, but we were just getting we were just getting clipped off, and
We're gonna
and
destroy there because we were our element completely.
yeah, we didn't know who we were fighting. I mean, we weren't used to this sort of guerrilla warfare. And again, at the end of the day, we didn't even know what the mission was. It was just a theater for the Cold War. That's what I'm saying. There were so many chess pieces in that kind of conflict. Even the Olympics, we talked about that on a gray area show about the
Mhm.
Olympics back in the day. What made it exciting, because again, it was like U.S. versus Russia, or the communists versus the capitalists in terms of who produced the better athletes. The Cold War was fought on so many different fronts that even our sports became that. So when the U.S. beat Russia in the 80 hockey game, I watched that live, and I was like, I mean, everybody just lost it who didn't even like hockey. But the whole thing was that we beat the Russians, who were considered like the best hockey team in the world at the time. And so it was in so many different ways. It, like I said, that whole era was just you
A
know
mess.
yeah. And I knew I had uncles who went and came back, and they were like never the same after that. We all just nobody. And that was before I get it's not great now, but the mental health of the 70s or the early 70s, nobody knew what was going on with these guys.
Hmm.
But they came back, they were just lost. They just had no, it was, so yeah.
I have talked to a couple of friends mine that introduced me to little older guys who did fight in Vietnam War. They all are so screwed up in heads, not even funny.
Mhm.
You try to talk to them and they're not where they need to be, and it's sad because this should have been taken care of a lot more than it should have. But unfortunately, we dropped the ball back then, big time, on them.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I got an uncle who served in Vietnam, who actually went to Vietnam and fought there. Um, Both my grandfathers fought in World War II. Were served in World War II. You know what I'm saying? I had a great uncle who served in the Korean War. So it was my dad was in Desert Storm and also Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. He's also in Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, same as me. My dad was like the sergeant major in Guantanamo Bay. Like I've never told anybody that out loud, but yeah, he's like the NCO in charge of Guantanamo Bay, all of it.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So
I knew somebody who was in charge, in charge of Operation Orange, and he was completely screwed up in the head, and he ended up dying early because he was breathing over the fumes over the years. So we never took care of the guys. So unfortunately, these movies don't give not even a small blink of an eye what they went through or what you went through. You guys went to hell and back there. Let's be honest, because that was not a great conditions. But how can you put what you saw through your eyes on a screen and make you feel like you're going through it too? That is the question of the night.
you can't. For
I
me,
agree
you
with you.
can't. Yeah. There's nothing you can like. You're not gonna replicate that on screen. You're just not. It's one of those things. Like, I think Saving Private Ryan, the beginning, did a really good job of that. Um, that is, unless you and Paul give me a movie that kind of reminds me of something else, but that to me was like the best um, reenactment of what an actual gunfight looks
You
like.
talking about the storming Normandy, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
when they stormed Normandy, that is probably the
Yeah.
best reenactment of what an actual gunfight looks like. That and SEAL Team that Shaw just told you about. It's on Paramount Plus. It does a good job. The thing is, the tactics that they use, the movements, that's real. Like those are actual real movements that we use. Like you don't see us like we don't run in and stuff like that. It's like no, you move slow, but not too slow. You know what I'm saying? You kind of walking at a good pace and you use soft footed good walking and at a good pace because the saying is slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Let me
You know
ask
what
you
I'm
this
saying?
question.
And you just it's very methodical.
Let me ask you a question, Mandy. Like from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most realistic and 1, 2 being like this is fake as shit. Full Metal Jacket. What would you scale that at?
The first 30 minutes of it, real, absolutely real, absolutely 100% authentic,
Yeah.
So you give it like a
absolutely.
9 then, I'll say?
That's a 10. The
A
first
10.
30
Okay.
minutes is a 10. Like the whole part where they're in boot camp, that is an absolute 10, hands down, no question.
Back then, at
Well,
least.
the
Now it's a
guy,
little different.
the
No,
gunnery
when
sergeant,
I
he was
was,
actually a real sergeant,
yeah,
Yeah.
gunnery sergeant
yeah,
in
he
that
was.
movie.
He
And
served
that's
in World War II, I think, was it, or Vietnam? I can't remember which one it
Vietnam.
was.
He served in
Vietnam.
Vietnam. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was an actual real drill sergeant in Marine Corps drill sergeant in real life. And so like yeah, that's it's not even back then, man. If you went to boot camp when I went in the early 2000s, that's how it was. They were ridiculous. I thought I was gonna get in trouble for laughing. Like I was like, shit, I'm good. I'm doing good at everything. I'm
Mhm.
doing really good at everything. I just hope they don't see me laughing. And there were times where I was like, someone would mess up, and I'm like, myself in my mind, I'm like, please don't say anything. I'm talking about the drill sergeants now. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. The second they do,
Oh,
I'm in
I'll be messed
hysterics.
up because he was funny. I mean, look, I mean
Yes, yes,
those joke. I mean, the way he sauced people up. I mean, that was some funny stuff that
it is.
I would be doing. Yeah, 20
You'd be
push
right
One
with
ups or
me.
thing,
whatever.
I'll be
I'd be
honest
doing
with you.
something.
One thing I learned about hanging out with a lot of military guys, they learn three things through boot camp and their service. The three things, these are three things. And man's going to agree with me. A, how to be a comedian, because their jokes are fucking hilarious when you see something coming out of their mouth. B, how to be a goddamn fucking smart ass and get away with it. And C, how to be a goddamn alcoholic and at the same time and function. Mandry, am I wrong or right?
Yeah, the alcohol thing, that's real.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, there are a bunch of comedians. I hear them talk about shit all the time. I'm like, where the fuck you guys come up with this shit? I'm like, the service. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, yep. I'm like, that's how we learn to be funny because we don't have anything out there. Like, we usually have, we're deployed. We don't have TV. We keep ourselves entertained. Like, that's why we drink so much sometimes because we're bored. We're really bored. We have
That's
drink and
true.
work out. And the
That's true.
gunfights you see on really, it doesn't last how long. What, maybe 30 seconds it lasts, or maybe a little more, a little less? Am I wrong here,
No,
Andy?
as far as gunfights go, they last longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah, but the way
Unless
the movies show it lasts usually like for a good hour sometimes. That's not real.
No, it depends on what your mission is, and what you're doing. But most times, nah, you're not out there. Well, the whole like say you go on a mission, right?
Hmm.
The whole mission might take an hour. That's from you getting. That's for us in special operations. It's like, okay, we take a few Humvees, a couple of little birds. We'll get out there, come back. The whole thing takes about an hour. We're back here, showering and shaving, shooting the shit. That's in Iraq. In Iraq, it was like that. It's just like there was
Yeah,
nothing and
yeah.
no one to stop us. We could just hit it 10 buildings a night, 100 buildings a night if we wanted to. But Afghanistan, different story. Yeah, you might be out there a while, dude. So take you some extra shit if you can.
So
It depends on what you're doing.
let me ask you a question. Okay, act of valor. Acting was pretty bad. Let's be honest. Because these are, they say with active Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6. I don't personally believe that. I don't think the government will let anybody active Navy SEALs be actually in screen. But let's say they were SEALs at least. The way they were moving, the stuff like they were doing, how accurate do you think that was personally?
In the short movie Act of Valor,
Yeah.
I don't think I saw all that. I saw some of it.
Yeah.
Um,
From
and then
what you
some,
saw, what you can remember, because I know it's been a while myself. Last time this was like
I haven't seen it, so I can't. I
it
can't
came
speak to that
out
one.
in 2012.
2012. Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing that one.
Yeah. So what their advertised was they're actually using active Navy SEAL Team 6 as actors because they tried to teach actors how to move and run, couldn't get it right as SEAL team. So, and the point of the movie is following SEAL Team 6 around during deployment. Personally, the acting wasn't the greatest. But again, also personally, I don't think the government will ever let SEAL Team 6, one of the most classified units out there, put their faces on a movie theater that goes
and that's how
global.
you know it's bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
You would never see a member of Delta Force, active duty Delta Force, doing a fucking
What
movie.
about retired? Would they do it after that, you think?
Well, you got retired Delta Force now doing podcasts.
Good point.
They're retired, so I mean, what is the difference? And what are you gonna do? Come after them? Good luck. Good luck with that. You and all 89 of you will be laid out. Period. People don't understand. Like, oh, China could beat us, Russia could beat us. No, you cannot. Our special operations are ridiculously well trained.
Absolutely. I got an argument with a friend Ikale about this the other night. And we got in a scream match. So told me like, ours or something else. He disagrees. He think Hitler won the war and we lost it. I'm like, are you on crack, dude? Seriously.
Where's Germany now? Where's Germany
sorry?
now? I mean, I'm like, where's the Nazi Party now? Then,
Yeah,
if
good
he
point.
won, if he won,
The one movie that I really liked, I met Chris Tanto from 13 Hours. That movie blew my mind out completely because I read the book. I had listened to him saying it personally at a book signing, the whole story from his side, not from the book, what he wrote in the book, what he experienced. And I seen the movie. Hands down, I think he's one of the closest one, I think, pretty realistic. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, there's one person that I did meet. I think they made a movie about him. It's called Hacksaw Ridge.
I heard it, have not seen it yet.
Yeah, it's where he was a conscientious objector and he refused to carry a weapon into battle. And
Yeah. I seen it. I know
yeah,
what you're talking about.
that guy, I met him in real life. I had no idea who he was. This is before the movie was made, because I think the movie was made in like 2015 or 16 or something like that. But I met him in 2002. You know what I'm saying? He was just sitting at I forget where we were. We were out
He was
somewhere.
older, right? Because
Yeah, he's an old man. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
he was a very old man. He was
wasn't the
sitting there.
war based on World War II?
It was World War II. Yeah, it was World War II. But anyway, he was
Okay.
sitting there wearing a Congressional Medal of Honor. I approached him to see if the thing was real. But you know what I'm saying? I was like, what the hell? It's a replica. I was about to ask him, where'd you get that? But then when I sat down, we talked, and he taught me for we were sitting there like 2 hours. Honestly, we got into a conversation. I was just starting my military career. He was telling me about his, and I had no idea. Then they made that movie. I paid the movie no attention. To me, it was just another war movie. So what? Eventually I'll see it. I watched it. I was like, wait a minute. This story sounds so familiar. And I was like, wait, I talked to a guy who said he did this. You know what I'm saying? This is years later. This is like 3 years ago. I finally watched this movie, like 3 years ago. So wait, I met an old man who said he did this, And then at the end of it, they actually showed the real guy. They were interviewing him. I said, that's him. That's him. It really is. I actually met him and had a whole 2-hour conversation with him.
Right.
He was sitting there wearing his Medal of Honor around his neck. It was crazy. It was a trip.
Nice. So, Mandrell, can I ask you just to deviate a little bit?
Hmm.
So you have at least 3 generations of your family that has served in military and in war.
Yeah,
Um, at any time, were any of those folks discouraged? Like, I don't think, like, if you have a son today, if he wants to join the military, would you be for that? Would you encourage him or her if they wanted to do that, or would you
I tell
steer
them,
them away?
oh no, I tell them absolutely get after it.
So you're definitely down for the
Yeah,
joining.
and
Yeah, I was, yeah, that surprised me a little bit because I mean just the way you talk about again treatment of soldiers and things like that, I would have thought you would have soured on it.
I am
Uh,
soured on it.
Yeah.
I am soured on a lot of
Before we go
things,
on, let's
but
welcome Eric on the panel. What's going on, my
okay.
man? You can probably unmute, but
Eric, can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us. He might have to go in and come back in.
Yeah, to answer your question, I am one of those bitter veterans. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? I am bitter about a lot of things, especially like I told you, we shouldn't have fucking been there.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I think that
I'm gonna throw something out
it,
your way really fast, Mandrian, and something
yeah.
I think Paul will be okay with this idea. The gray area. Would you mind coming on and giving your side of your military experience, your life, like an interview kind of thing? What we do for you?
Yeah, I do that.
Appreciate it.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, great.
Have you done
Was
that before in these spaces where you've been like interviewed?
Once, just one time, and it was kind of small. It was a very small interview. He just asked me a few questions, and that was it.
Okay. Well, then,
But
yeah, we'd love to
this is
have
gonna be a
you
little
on.
more in
But
depth for you
yeah,
questions.
yeah,
I'll be honest.
exactly.
Like
No
if you go
doubt.
back and see our CQ interview, I'll send it to you on the side, and you're gonna see. It was my favorite interview. I'll be honest. This was my favorite episode I did so far with Paul. Like, and I know CQ for 20 plus years now, and I learned more things about him than I ever knew about his military experience. He talks about it, but we never really sat down and get in detail, deep like that. And like, wow, I wanted to myself. I even looked at Paul after, like, wow, that was good. So definitely, I will hit you up on the side and set something up. I'll talk to Paul and figure out what day we're gonna do this, and get the thumbnails and everything ready on that.
Okay, no problem.
So
I,
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I was about to say just to finish answering Paul's question. Yeah, and we can get into detail with that during the interview. You know what I mean? But I think it's worth it because there are a lot of benefits to being a veteran. There's a lot of benefits to being in the military itself, and you do a lot of growing up and maturing. You really have no choice. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of positives, whereas and the negative stuff comes from political nonsense. Like some units are just underfunded. Like, why does a special forces group ever run out of money and doesn't have any ammo to go to the range? Like, how does that even happen? What's the long tab for then? You know what I mean? You don't want.
right.
Then you got units like Delta where they have an unlimited budget, and it makes total sense for them to have unlimited rounds and unlimited grenades and everything they want. So like they don't run out of money.
Right. Right. Right.
Rounds are no
Their
problem.
weapons,
There's
I keep
nothing.
hearing about all these new weapons
Nothing's on
coming out
limits.
and stuff, and it's like it keep impressing me more and more. Like the new techs are coming out, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty. And no offense, dude, like special forces are usually guinea pigs of the weapons you guys have to use sometimes too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the new weapon that the army bought because they're switching weapons. They're moving away from the M14.
They've been
They
trying
moved
for years.
No, but they actually have one now.
Oh,
And
what
they
is it?
decided, yeah, the SIG MCX Spear.
The Sig.
Yeah, SIGs
I've
are.
been hearing about that. Yeah, I thought
SIG,
the Saw was supposed to replace it at one point.
yeah, the SAW's being replaced. SIG's making the replacement for that now. Um, they've actually made it. You can look at pictures of it, and you can buy the MCX Spear. They already have a civilian model out, and it's for sale right now to civilians. It fires new ammo. I think it's a 277 Fury, is what they call it. This thing is supposed to go. It's a regular round, and it's going to be a standard issue round, and it goes through body armor. It's armor piercing. So think about it like regular army infantry unit firing armor piercing rounds. You know what I mean? But here's the thing: what war it really is about, though. Look at how much we learned from this 20-year conflict. Look at how much the technology has changed and grown. Look at our tactics. You know what I'm saying? Like we could be in and just call in a gunship, and you know what I'm saying. strobe lights
Right.
on our helmets, the whole nine. So, and we use we look through infrared spectrums. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So we only see the infrared stuff, like infrared strobe lights on our helmets, so we can identify friendlies from enemies.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's just
Like there
it's
were,
so
I
much. And then this whole
remember.
thing with Ukraine and Russia, people, I'm like, people are like, we shouldn't be there. I'm like, I'm okay with it. Why are you okay with it? Look at how much we're learning by watching two other countries go at it.
Dude,
Now
I
we know that
remember.
Russia doesn't have shit
Oh,
versus
absolutely.
the US. Now we
I
know what
actually
they
I got
have.
an argument with a Russian the other day about this. He was telling me the what's called the AK is the best weapon ever made in history. I go, oh, you're a fucking idiot. I went to him and see if you think that. No.
There's now today there's the P14 made
Yeah.
by Patriot Ordnance. There's the SIG MCX Spear made by SIG. I mean, there's several
Dude,
other
do you
weapons that are better.
remember the XM8?
Yeah, I remember that. Unfortunately, that
Was
was
it that bad?
it was bad, dude. Someone played video games way too much.
Mhm.
Someone played a
But
lot of Halo.
it was in Call of Duty at one point. Come on now, before it was even released. So I really thought that was supposed to be the replacement. Here's the thing with problem, Paul. We understand when you have to approve a weapon, you have to do a lot of paperwork before you get a prototype out.
Mhm.
This general found a loophole how to do it. He took another file out from another weapon. He just replaced the letter and say M3 for example. He put XM8 and so on. So when the Congress saw that, somebody caught on to that. I'm like, wait a minute here. This doesn't add up here. So he started digging into it like, oh, hell fucking no. The colonel who helped him do it, I'm not sure if they got in trouble or they got some kind of reprimanded. Man, do you know if they got reprimanded for that or no?
Remember what now?
Remember with the XM8 when they counterfeit the documents because they didn't want to go through all the gray line? They took another rifle. I can't remember which gun was it, and they just changed the name and used it for the XM8, and that's why the XM8 never actually came out. The paperwork was never done correctly. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I didn't. But I'm glad.
For a one-star general, we didn't want to go through a gray area, so he actually took the paperwork from another weapon that failed testing because you don't have to do all the paperwork first. Explain to the government why we need this weapon, yada yada yada. He just changed. Say for example, XR9, for example, he did MX8 instead. He just changed the lettering on there, and he carried to get approved. And he had to go through so many hands. The last step of the hands, somebody caught on to him like, oh, the fuck? I'm like, I remember denying this. He just realized the words were exactly the same, and that's how he got caught. He didn't change the words around at all.
See, there you go, bureaucratic nonsense. But it's unfortunate that Heckler and Koch, because Heckler and Koch made that weapon. It's unfortunate for them, but I'm glad it wasn't. Now, the weapon we have now is far superior. The weapon that they selected now to replace it, it's official. It is replacing it. It is
Mhm.
replacing the M4. So SIG has won that contract, and it's awesome. You can look at YouTube videos of YouTubers and other people just they bought one and they're testing it out and they do it through ballistic shield and everything. You'll see it's the most violent round I've ever seen.
Right.
Like the damage
Well,
it
around it's
does
not
is
5.56 anymore,
ridiculous.
right?
No, it's 6.8 by 51
I have never heard that kind of round, to be honest with you.
because there's never been one like it. It's,
Oh,
Hey
it's
it's the
guys,
first
I
time.
want
yeah.
if I can again, great combo, and like I said, I'm not up on the gun stuff, but I'm just curious from your perspective. Like I talked about those those four historic periods: civil, World War II, Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
and Cold. Do you have, just based on your interest, an area of interest that you
Paul, hang on one
uh,
second. Eric, do a sound check really fast because I know you have issues before. Not sure it's gonna.
yeah,
Paul,
if
can
he's
you?
coming on through his phone, he should be able to when the audio comes up, he should just be able to unmute himself and begin.
I think that's the problem. He has it button muted. I know he's using a flip phone. I think.
Nah, I think he's got an iPhone like I do. So. But he should be able to unmute himself. If you check the settings on his phone, there should be a like a settings icon. He should be able to click on the audio, and he should be able to use his phone, just his regular microphone, in order to speak. So I would
Yeah,
Just
I'm
have.
not sure about that part because I know you used
Yeah.
your phone before.
Oh, he said he's
I know.
not on his phone. Then
Yeah.
it should be if he's on his laptop, then there should be an unmute button because he's clearly in the you're in the thread, so it's not a question of your of the video. The microphone, if you go under your system settings under your microphone, the microphone that you should select is the computer itself, and then just hit the unmute button. That it's the first icon on the left. It looks like a microphone, and he should be able to speak um, if he's not able to do so. Otherwise, like, obviously he's not near me, so I can't necessarily direct him through. Um,
Thanks, Paul.
mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off here. What you were going to say now?
Now, just in terms of do you have a for these movies? Like I said, I think the eras are what really drives me in terms of the movies. Like I said, Vietnam and Cold War, obviously, because the Cold War, obviously, I lived through. But do you guys have an interest? I know Mandra with the whole Iraq Desert Storm era. Is that an area of most interest to you when it comes to wartime, or is there an era of war that fascinates you the most? Certainly, if not in modern times, if not ancient times.
Well, the era of war that fascinates me the most. Now, it used to be Cold War in Vietnam because I lived through the Cold War too. I was
Mm-hmm.
born in '78.
Mm-hmm.
I was very young, a child when the Cold War ended. But you know, this modern era of war is extremely fascinating. Like we haven't even scratched the surface of movies and television to show you what it was like and what was going on and things going on behind the scenes and how in 2008 I told my sister when Bin Laden was because I knew where it was. You know what I mean? Then
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to the Obama administration, he finally does it. I was like, see, I told you where it was.
Mm-hmm.
From what I was told,
Like, I mean,
we
but
actually
it's just
knew where he was the whole time. Actually, we were in the right time to pop him, pretty much.
yeah, we did. Um, even like because I served under the Bush administration and a little under Obama, but yeah, this day of modern warfare, man, just not only being in, I wasn't in big army, thank God, but being in special operations and being a part of that, it's incredible. It really is incredible. This one, but before now, it was definitely Vietnam and Cold War. I like the old spy movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Even like the one that Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman did. Uh, uh, I forget the name of that.
Give me a second. I'll look up. I know what you're talking about.
Some of all fears or
There
something
you go.
like
Okay,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, even like smaller ones like that. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like James Bond. I like those.
Yeah, they've
Those are
dealt with a lot of
right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Like I said, Firefox, which again, it's dated a little bit in terms of the special effects and everything, but Clint Eastwood, he going into Russia, stealing a Mach 6 spy plane, battle plane and whatnot. I mean, the suspense and the buildup that they had up, you don't even see the plane until like 3/4 of the movie before you first even see the plane.
Let me ask you
And
guys a
then
question
the
really
dog,
fast too.
yeah.
So, which movie would you? I think it was more Mandarin question than Paul's, but I want to get your input too, Paul. Which movie you think is the best representation of a comeback scene? Like you actually like yourself, man, and you close your eyes, like yeah, I can see that actually happen in real life.
like I told you, the one that's done it the best so far, in my opinion, was the World War II film, yeah, Saving Private Ryan. In the
Hmm.
beginning, when they're storming the beaches of Normandy,
Mm-hmm.
that's as far as like an actual gunfight. That's the most accurate, dude. It's fucking chaos. It really is.
Hmm.
This shit is crazy. And another one is this movie I'm naming. As far as accuracy, that it's very accurate. Lone Survivor, right? Like what made it so accurate was the sounds. Like movies do ridiculous shit with the sound effects of guns
Hmm.
in combat. It's like no, it doesn't sound. That's what takes you out of it, and that's why it doesn't trigger people's PTSD. The sounds are just all wrong, so it takes you out of it. But the sounds in that one, those are very accurate. The cracks and the whizzes and
Now, it's
zip.
interesting. Have any of these movies ever been shown in a theater, like in the I don't know, with the Dolby surround sound or the what's the big IMAX sound
Oh,
where
the
you can like
XD?
hear the like you can feel the bullets passing behind you, over you, under you, whatever. Has anybody ever done a movie like that where the sound is such where it's like immersive, where you literally feel like you're in the battlefield conditions? Because I'm just wondering what that effect would be like, and then I'm also just wondering for someone who might have been in that condition, how would that affect them versus just looking at a flat screen and having the sound coming towards you. But if they could simulate where there's like shots and things just happening all around you or whatever, I'm just wondering what that could do to somebody who may have been in a war zone situation, or
I
if you
don't
just
know.
wanted that immersive experience. Because I know you can do some creative things with the Dolby sound, the what's the Bose system, and have
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff
it's
around and
called
stuff.
XD actually. In the movie theaters, XD to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if one has been in that kind of.
It
That's
has. They
interesting.
have. They
They have.
have.
Okay,
Yes.
if they, I didn't know that, but yeah, that'd be interesting to actually have that experience.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
'cause-
I personally have never seen a movie in XD because I'm cheap. I don't want to spend extra money. But I hear it with my own surround sound, and I have a pretty nice surround sound. I need to upgrade it, but when it was like top of the line, it feels pretty accurate. I've been around gun ranges. I seen it cracking and snapping. I've never been shot at, but I heard the gun side stuff, and I would say they're pretty close. You're right about that. And like another one, I would say maybe at the time when the movie came out was pretty close to. It was Black Hawk Down too. I will say. What do you think?
Okay, I've talked to a few guys, a few of those Delta guys who were in Mogadishu,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
and I asked them what they thought of that fucking movie. They was like, "That fucking movie was fake. That's not how it happened. Like, it's not that fucking this, that fucking that. It was just that was
So
their
I know
attitude."
one person actually I spoke to was actually there, and he was in the movie. He told me like, it was not accurate, but some things were. He said not everything. It was like out of 1 to 10,
Well,
maybe 3%. He said.
yeah, well, the fact that the guys actually did request to be landed and they'll run to where the first
Oh,
chopper
and
went down.
yeah, I know what you're talking
Things
about. I
like that.
remember that.
Yeah, the fact that they did that, that's true. There
Yeah.
are some things that were true, you know what I'm saying? But other things is like a lot of that is not how it happened. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, what about the part where the RPG hits the truck, it doesn't detonate, but it penetrates a guy who's sitting in. He said, "I don't fucking." Again, this is a Delta guy. He wasn't there. He said, "I don't fucking know, man. I wasn't there for that. I was always over here. I was all the way over here doing this, that, and the other. You know, may have, but the thing is, that's possible because I've seen crazy things like that happen.
Hmm.
I've seen ordnance get fired but not detonate. We don't know why they didn't detonate or what, and we're not going to go over there to find out either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Don't ask, don't tell, kind of thing, right?
It's just like I've seen an RPG get fired, goes through the passenger window of a Humvee, and come out the driver's side window, like straight through the Humvee, nothing. And it's just like, wow. I've seen a mortar get shot, hits a Humvee right there on the hood, doesn't detonate. It's just stuck right there in the hood in the engine block. But it didn't. It stuck right there in the engine block, and it just didn't detonate. Now, granted, the guys who were in the Humvee, they got the fuck out of there.
Dude, I know one guy who told me that the craziest story I ever heard. A buddy of mine, his father was us. I remember which war it was. He ran out of grenades, so he grabbed a mortar, slammed against the wall to get it ignited, and he threw it as a grenade. It goes and blew the fucking thing up. I go, I thought you're not supposed to use it like that. Like, nope. Where did it came idea? I panicked. He goes to me. I'm like, okay, I guess it works. It works. Some crazy shit happens on the battlefield, bro. Is shit. You're working on instinct. You're not thinking. You're just going.
Yeah, and see, Paul, it's weird stuff like that happens all the time,
right,
and you can't explain it. You just don't
right.
know. But then you got movies like that. That one about Benghazi,
Oh, 13 hours.
13 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
what I understand, that's a pretty accurate one.
Like I said, I like the picture I showed earlier. That was Chris Tanto. The real he was there. He was a ranger, so he served the Rangers. He came out. He signed up with Blackwater. He left Blackwater, I believe, and then he did a private contract through the government. during his prior contract, he got ended up stuck in there, and it was saying. And Paul, here's the fucked up part. He was the most religious person you ever meet. His father is a priest, and I go, I'm literally having a beer with this guy. So the backstory between me and him was, he saw my tattoo of my body, and he always thank you for that. I'm not a serviceman. And so we started talking. He goes, I have a line, but I love to continue talking. I said, under one condition, let's have a beer together. I go, cool. And we're having a beer. He sent me some of his stories. Like, I can't say on air because he asked me to keep it private. Right. And I'm looking, I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, I was like literally like thinking about like this. I'm like, this is some crazy shit. And I asked my buddy CQ some of this stuff. And, this, again, I can't tell him because it's off air again. And he goes to me, yep, it's true. I'm like, seriously? Like, I don't know how true it is. He goes, I wasn't there, but some of this shit is actually fucking true. Like, do you understand? The reason it's 13 hours, when the incident started, them getting shot at, it was, they're on top of the roof fighting for 13 hours straight. Didn't stop. And the worst part about it, they were warned it's going to happen. But nobody wanted to send them back up and help them out. When they did send them back up, it was too late. We lost so many men for no reason that day. If I'm wrong, man, please jump in anytime.
No, you're not wrong. That situation got up to Washington, because I've been in a situation like that too at an embassy in Africa. But we ended up exfilling out of there though, man. It was that whole situation. It's like if you're doing security at an embassy or something like that, fucking and you get reports that someone's going to attack, or a mob is gonna try to.
The worst part about
what you can
that
do is hold on.
Sorry.
Best thing for you to do is exfil. Go ahead and exfil. Don't even chance it, because they're gonna come. You know what I'm saying? And you're not getting any help from Washington. They're not gonna send a gunship. Like even in 13 hours, they were asking them, "We're not asking you for a gunship. Just do a flyover. Send jets to do a flyover just to scare them away, because that does work, actually, gentlemen. It does.
I believe it.
They're coming to attack Americans, and they see those jets flying over. They're out of there 9 times out of 10. They're like, okay, okay, they got planes now. They're gonna bomb us. Let's get out of here. Let's not be stupid. They'll leave most times, but they wouldn't even do that. And to my understanding, Hillary Clinton was one of the people who voted not to. And it's just, it was an ugly situation. It really was, man. They just, it wasn't. See, it's that kind of stuff that makes you bitter, Mr. Bennett.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff like that. Like when you're in Iraq and you're like, okay, all we hear every day, this guy died, that guy died, those guys died, some more guys died, and they're getting hit with IEDs left, right, and center. Those are the things that they're getting hit with. And so now I'm going outside the wire, and my asshole is puckered, super tight, like super glue, because I'm like, okay, here it is. I'm gonna get hit. Why are we in a Humvee and not in a helicopter? You know what I'm saying? Like that's my question. Like, why are we in a Humvee and not in a helicopter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous.
So what I was going to say, Paul, you understand the whole situation of that Benghazi. So when the embassy and the safe house, I guess, was two different parts of the city. All right. Mm-hmm. So when I can't remember his name, the big high up guy came, they only came 2 Rangers, 2 soldiers to protect him against a whole country. By the way, to me that was the stupidest thing idea. Even in the movie, Chris Honto says in the movie, he's having a beer with the guys. He goes, "Yeah, this is gonna be bad if something happens. This looks bad shit crazy already." He goes, "You guys need anything? Call us." And they did call him. But they were not getting the green light to go. By the time one of the guys said, "Fuck it, I'm breaking. I don't give a shit about you giving the green light. We're going." And they got in the cars and went without permission. And they came back, and the guys were already fucked up, and the little help they got from another country, it was too late. And then when they got in there, half of them were like getting killed as they're trying to help them. It was a lose-lose situation.
Right.
Nobody understand that, how bad it was. Mandry probably the only few people in this panel right now. I would never understand it, or you. Mandry probably would say, "Yep, that was a loose situation." Or am I wrong?
There was just no way out of it.
Yep.
The thing is, they were going to get hit. Period. You know what I'm saying? Anytime you get into the CIA had intel that they were that something like that was probably going to happen, that people were gearing up to do that. So my thing is, when you see people mobbing up, why do you not go ahead even then? Go ahead. Why don't you? Number one, you should be ready as soon as you hear that intel. You should be prepping for that. Instead of going, oh, they're not going to do anything. They may not. they're probably not going to do it. No, you don't lose. You don't use things, leave things like that to chance. That's number one. You should have been geared up and ready for that anyway. So these guys got to put on kit, and they're waiting there forever to go and save the ambassador, who's like a mile down the road. Okay, let's say they make it there. They still got to make it a mile back, which they did. So they had to get there, and they were in a gunfight while they were there. They still had to make it a mile back. You don't know what's going to happen on the way there or on the way back, or when they get there.
Right.
You have no clue what's going to happen. So it's like the incompetence. Okay, you got people with combat experience. Leave that to them. If they think it's okay to go down there, go leave it now, then let them leave now. You're an intelligence officer with the CIA. Stop it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mandrell, let me ask you something. Do you think that, again, I want to bring it back to movies, because, again, you're saying a lot of good stuff that I want to preserve some of this for the Gray Area show, especially when we start talking about, because one of the things I'm finding interesting in asking in these interviews with former soldiers, one of the questions I'm literally asking is, what are the gray areas from based on your perspective of what you've seen and whatnot, and how has that changed your view? How has that made you cynical? So I want to dive into all that when you're there, but I want to make, keep the focus here. Like I said, this is supposed to be the light show. So,
Right.
so I want to talk more about on the movies, but is there any kind of, as far as you know of, for any war movie that's made in the United States, is there something that has to go by U.S. or some sort of congressional approval on something that's going to be made? Because the one thing that gets me about, especially a lot of those World War II movies, a lot of them were like propaganda films. You know what I mean? Like Yankee Doodle Dandy and all that America Apple Pie stuff, all those John Wayne movies and whatnot. It was definitely, it didn't give you the grit. That's why I like Patton so much, because Patton, like,
I love
the
that
opening
movie.
scene, it's showing you warfare. Like, you got dead bodies like all over the place.
Before
Dead
we
horses.
answer that
Dead.
question, I want to jump in there first. I want to give you my little feedback. I know a little bit of background on that too.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, so as far as you guys know, if you're gonna, let's say, if a producer or a company wants to make a war film, or does this have to go through several people, and is there a potential to say, nope, yeah, you can't make that because that's too sensitive or whatever. We can't let you pull that off. Especially when you got these directors like, who's the guy who made Nixon? He made the JFK assassination. Who's that guy? The director. You know what I'm talking about?
I look it up right now.
Yeah, I don't know who he is, but
you know the name. He did Scarface also, not Brian De Palma, but the guy who wrote it. What's his name?
I'm looking at it right now.
He did JFK, right? He did Nixon. He did but
the director, you asking?
Yeah, but that's my my question.
William Oliver Stone.
Stone. Yeah. So Oliver Stone, he makes a lot of stuff that's kind of stylized or whatever. You don't know, but he says, look, I got the facts. I back up everything that, you say this is controversial, but I got the stats, I got the records, I got the logs, I got the interviews, I got the recordings to back up anything I'm saying in this film. So people call him crazy, but is there a process that you guys know of where a movie has to go through some sort of Senate or congressional authorization before it could be made?
So let me go first. A minute, you take over after I'm done. So from my understanding, they have to go through a process. As long as that is not classified, they don't usually have an issue. The only time they have an issue if they want the military to jump in and help them out with, let's say, we want a scene and want to use real tanks, for example. Obviously, Hollywood doesn't have real tanks in the backyard like cars. They're going to have to get military help. So they do. Military does work with Hollywood very well. That's where you need an approval. The script, it depends what's on the script. They have to go through it and make sure it's not going to make them look like stupid or idiots, pretty much, if that makes sense.
But we've seen movies that, like I said, all those Vietnam movies
exactly
make America look pretty stupid because, again, you're people asking questions like, why are we there?
Yeah, so it really depends. That's declassified, obviously. We know that happened. If it was something that classified, like, again, who actually killed JFK? We think we know, but is it accurate? It's still classified. It's
no, we know. We
I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah, we know.
There's supposed to, a few years ago, like the 50 year that we were supposed to get that information,
like classified a long time.
5-6 years ago.
Lawsuit after lawsuit for that.
Yeah,
And
but it's still that like that stuff's never going to be released. I just don't think.
It's not because that was an inside job. Like we know that much about it. No, people say it's conspiracy theory. No, no, it's a fact. We know for a fact now that was an inside job.
Mhm.
That's why a lot of the documents will never be
Never.
unclassified. They will never be ever. They can't let you know everything, dude.
Absolutely not.
Because right now they can still say prove it or
Hmm.
just propaganda. They can brush it off like that. But it's like no, we see you. We see you.
Hmm.
So I mean that's what the thing that is. I mean, but yeah, you're right. There's some things. Well, here's the thing: if you do something, a movie, and it's classified, they will snatch you up, or they'll come pay you a visit. They won't snatch you up, but they'll come pay you a visit and say, "Hey, where'd you learn that information?" You will be interrogated now.
Mm.
Period. They will ask you questions. They need to find out where that leak is. They will do that. As far as is there a process? There may be. I'm not sure about that one myself, so I can't say. But I do know if you put classified information in the movie, they find out that movie gets released and the public's already seen it. The government's not dumb. They're not going to overreact by telling you to take the movie down. They're not because they're going to say, "Oh, it's just a movie." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They can do deny it like that. But like to Grumman's point, if someone does find out things like, and then I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a process where they have to ask the government, "It's okay. Is it okay for me to put this in this film?" I
Hmm.
would not be surprised if what Grumman is saying is true. It's just I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I don't know if there's a
Or
process.
to that point is the movies that we've seen because you said that a lot of these Iraq movies or like Zero Dark 30 or the Bin Laden movie, what all these movies, a lot of guys are saying this stuff isn't really accurate. So is it more so? Could it be that the government says, look, you can say this, it's not accurate, but for the sake of you making a film that's kind of like the story or whatever, like this will approve of what you can do, and you can say this. It may be totally false, but you can say that, just not the real stuff. Is that? Do you think that's possible?
That's possible. I think it's possible. Like what Grumman was saying, I think it's totally possible,
hmm
and I think it's highly. In fact, I think it's likely that there's a process to go through
Yeah.
before you release these films that you have to ask
Right.
permission to put
Right.
whatever in it.
Like
You
I
know.
know for a fact when they did Pearl Harbor, Pearl Harbor, they needed some support from the government and military because they couldn't, pull off a lot of things, a lot of scenes, and they worked unanimously with the military to pull those scenes out. And some of them are like hats off to them, like and they did a great job. And I know, like for example, even doing YouTube, for example, if you think they don't monitor what we say, and if we say something that's supposed to be classified, for example, somebody's gonna be knocking on my door and yours and saying, "Where did you find this information out?" And they're gonna question me. Like, why do you think Snowden skipped the country for a reason? He's not
Mhm.
allowed back in here for a reason. He wants to become back, but nobody's going to give him a pardon. No president will be stupid enough to do that, to give him a pardon because he was a whistleblower, and the government hate whistleblower. If I'm wrong, please correct me, Adrian.
No, they do hate whistleblowers for a good reason, and Snowden is a fucking traitor. Okay, fuck
That
that
too.
guy.
That's a
Um,
that's a whole
yeah,
different story.
I understand what he's doing, but my thing is this with him, bro. You signed an NDA. You're working for the NSA. You knew what you were doing. You knew what you were getting into. If you're uncomfortable with what's going on there, just quit. But you don't do that. You don't put your country in a vulnerable position like that. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I get how he feels. I understand that. But what he did was wrong, in my opinion.
But you don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, though, in terms of
Okay,
okay, we
cool.
we get him back. I mean, just to get him back, because you don't know what he's told the Russians or whatever. If you get him back, and let's say, fine, we're not going to throw the book at you or whatever. But isn't he still more valuable on U.S. soil than in Russia right now?
Depends on how much he knew. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. I don't know what he knows and what he
But
doesn't.
the charges are such, the fact that he is this sort of most wanted still,
And he
doesn't
should
that
stay
kind of give
there.
you some insight that
He,
he may,
well, the thing is, treason is treason. If he's on the most wanted list just for treason alone, my thing is, whatever, dude. Uh, he should be back in the U.S. I think we should send either Delta or definitely Delta. They'll get the job done. Period. SEAL Team Six might, but that's an anti-terrorism team. But yeah, just send Delta or Ground Branch. Yeah, either Delta or Ground Branch. We'll have them back here in 2 weeks.
Mater, I'm not familiar with Ground Bridge. Who they are?
That is the paramilitary section of of CIA. They
Okay.
recruit. They recruit from. If you're in Ground Branch, you served in either Green Berets, Delta Force, Navy SEALs,
Any
Marshall
special
Marines.
forces?
Yeah, you have to have been in special forces for them to even think about looking at you.
Mhm.
And most times they recruit because someone told them about you or recommended you. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know that they were recruiting me for years. I had no clue. You know what I'm saying?
Would you have taken it?
So
Why didn't you
they're
go?
Until a guy just came up to me, hey, Carlos, right? Yeah. Who are you? You know what I'm saying? We had a small company. You know such and such? Yeah. You know him such and such from this place? Yeah. You know this other guy from this place? Yeah. Hey, dude, bro, how do you know me and how do you know them? Well, could you meet me at this hotel here at such and such time on such and such date? Can you make it here? It's weird shit like that, dude. It's just like, oh, you know, you know what I'm saying? They do
So
weird
what
shit.
he's
It's
saying,
like,
Paul, like a lot of missions. Remember our interview with CQ? He said it a lot of times. He was doing missions, and they said, "Who are these guys in the shoes?" Not your business, but now it's
yeah,
below your rank
Right.
and below your pay grade. You don't ask, you don't tell, kind of thing. You keep doing your business, put your nose to the ground, and keep doing. And if they ask you, "Oh, you remember those guys?" Like, nope, I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't see
yeah.
anything. You
Ground
lie.
branch, ground branch operates like, you know, in CIA, you see people like Felix Slider from James Bond, right?
Yeah.
He would be known as like a handler. You know what I'm saying? He's an intelligence officer.
Right.
He would be giving the collecting the intelligence and telling ground branch, "Hey, here's what I got. Here's all the intel I got. Here's what we need done. Have at it." And ground branch goes and does it. You
Wow.
know what I'm saying? They might be in, you know, they might be in civilian clothes. They might be. It's there's no telling, dude. They do all kind of shit, and that's more dangerous than even Delta Force because even in Delta, you can call for a gunship or something. You know what I'm saying? Green Berets, we could at least call for a gunship or something, or call for QRF to
Right.
come help us. You know, if everything goes tits up, but ground branch, no, you get no help because you're not supposed to be here.
Hmm. Yeah.
Period. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's just it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I want to go back to um, Groomy. You asked a question about most realistic. Now, again, I
Mm-hmm.
have never been in warfare, so I can't say for sure what is real and what's not. I don't have that bearing. But from what I understand, like I said, Patton, I think that definitely broke a lot of ground, especially from the World War II movies that were made before then, that gave you a very sort of pro America, pro, almost like almost to a propaganda level about what that war was like. So I thought that definitely broke ground as far as realism. But I also thought that Full Metal Jacket did, because that was the first time that I remember seeing a film that talked about inner city kind of warfare, like the war, like the battles and stuff, the shootouts that were done
Urban warfare.
in urban, yeah, urban warfare. And I thought that was groundbreaking because, again, everything up to that point, it was like jungle scenes and or the airship scenes from Apocalypse Now or something. Get some, stuff like that. But just the trench warfare, and you felt like claustrophobic, like looking at it, because it felt like it was on top of you, even as a watcher of the movie. That's why I was asking earlier about those sound effects. If they released it now, like an Adobe 6 or whatever the high end is, and they had, again, you can hear bullets and stuff like around you like that, it would give you such I think, an immersive experience. But I had never up to that point saw warfare at that level, so I thought that was groundbreaking as well. So I just wanted to share that, because those are the two most realistic. Everything else is like, yeah, you're in the bunker or whatever, you hear bombs and planes going over you and stuff like that. But I thought those two different types of perspectives in terms of warfare, I thought were groundbreaking at the time, and certainly things I still remember.
Yeah, if you're talking about like the beginning of Patton where they got scorpions crawling all over the bodies and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's the thing is that's absolutely true. I've seen that myself. It's like a battlefield after the fact, after a gunfight, dude. It is like that. It, it's
Mhm.
it's it is it is it's you're right. Patton is very accurate when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Patton was spot on. I'll say I'd even go so far as to say that's spot on.
Yeah, and the performance,
And then
James C. Scott.
hey,
I
yeah,
mean
George C. Scott. Yeah,
George C. Scott. Yeah, I mean he nailed. I mean, yeah.
also, like I remember because I remember Patton's one of my favorite films. By the way, is
Hmm.
one of them. Um, we had like the locals come into the soldiers and taking their clothes and their gear, the helmets and stuff like that. Yeah, that happens too
Yeah.
in Afghanistan. That in Afghanistan, like Iraq, not so much. Not
Hmm.
really in Iraq, but Afghanistan definitely like that.
Yeah. The one thing that I think would trip me out, and again, it's going to say some of this, but the stench.
Oh my
Um,
god, that sticks with me to this day, dude. That's a part of my
I
PTSD.
mean, that's got to be something that's just. I mean, the napalm, the bombs, and the charred flesh, and the rigor, and just all of that. I mean, how do you? Because even in Lincoln, when they were doing that scene where you had all these body parts like being sawed off, because again, you had to, they had to kind of sew it off so they could stitch it up properly and whatnot. You just saw just crates of body parts that were just uh just there. I mean, it was. And same thing with the Hitler film that I'd referenced earlier. Again, I mean, just the doctors, and you have all these soldiers and the screams and people, getting sawed up because again, you have to, take the dead flesh or the carotid flesh or the burnt flesh off. So you got to make these nice sort of cuts and everything. You just see these guys just, that's the kind of stuff that's just gets you like, like what are we doing? This as human beings, it's like what are we doing to each other? And I think if more people almost saw that, is like, do you really want to do this? I mean, was it that it's so important that you go to war with somebody or declare war on somebody who never attacked you or whatever? But what is the advantage of just to take a life of another human being? It just, you know, you talk about being on the battlefield, Mandrill, but imagine the doctors who are having to operate on these soldiers coming in and doing that. I don't know what the trauma is for them, but I would have to think as much as you may have medical training, I don't think anything prepares you for that when you have casualty after casualty coming in.
But
Some you
also,
lose, some
you
you
also have
don't.
to think
Yeah.
is you have a medic and a doctor. That's two different things.
Right.
Not really.
There's not.
No. Not really. Not out there.
Okay,
It isn't.
please explain. I mean, I got no. I
Not
go
out
ahead.
there. There isn't. It's not really a different. It's the thing. Like I've had to remove bullets and stitch people up. I have.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Out there. I mean, I've been trained to that point. But you got people like say a special forces medical sergeant, right? Because you can be a medic in special forces, right? Because that's what I cross trained as.
Mm.
I was a weapons guy. I was 18 Bravo, weapons sergeant, right? So my specialty was weapons and ordnance. I got to blow up some shit, and what I'm saying, not as much as the engineers did. The engineers got to blow shit up all the time. That's kind of what they did, what they
Right.
did.
Right.
But they learned how to build structures and all kind of cool shit, man. But me, I was with weapons. I got to fire all kinds. Anyway, but yeah, doctors and medics. A lot of times, those doctors don't really know much more than the medics do.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? They're guessing, just like the medics. You know what I'm saying? They're just doing what they're trained to do.
Right.
Until you get somewhere like Germany. Now you get shipped up to Germany. Those where the real doctors are. Now that's the difference. They're grooming.
Right.
That's the difference between a group. They send you off to Germany if you're that bad. And they send you to Germany. Okay, now you're there with doctors. You're out there in Iraq or Afghanistan. Those are just fucking medics. I don't care what
Yeah.
anyone says. I don't care what
But
anyone
even
says.
then, isn't there some kind of trauma you would think um that is associated with just doing that every day? especially when you're in a war zone and you got guys coming in with like body parts blown off or burnt third degree burns and things of that nature. Like I would think that, and I don't know if there's an existing process now where just like the soldiers get um treatment or for PTSD or whatever, is there some sort of PTSD or something similar that happens with these medics that that they have to, you got to take them out of there for a while or else they'll lose it from just all that trauma.
Um, no different from anyone else, from any other soldier. I mean, you can go to the VA and get that regimented bullshit,
Mm,
regimented therapy. I mean, it's kind of the same for everyone, but um, there's not a lot of help for that. As far as like, to me, the help is inadequate.
mm-hmm,
It really is. But so they get the same thing that we do, um, no different, like I said. But I understand what you're saying, but that kind of thing doesn't bother me. I mean,
mm.
and I don't see it bothering a doctor either or a surgeon. I mean, they're cutting people open all the time. So I don't like, why would this
Well,
bother
like
me?
I said, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, the extreme. Like if I go to like the hospital around the corner, I mean, yeah, you got people come in, you know, spleen or gallbladder or some broken bone or something, or you know, you know. But I mean, you're talking about the worst in human condition. That okay, well, here you got to fix this, or you got to try to save somebody from this, and the fact that you're going to lose quite a number of these folks, especially if you're in a war zone. So also what that's doing to you mentally, where you just got people who you're just rolling the plastic bag over whatever they do in that situation. It's like working in an ER at a local hospital or city hospital somewhere. Uh, I don't think you're dealing with that kind of trauma to that same degree. Now I don't know if medical school or doing a residency in a hospital, I don't know if it can prepare you for that off the rip. And that some people may be able to handle it more than others. But I'm just saying in the urgency of it, like what's happening now in places around the world. I mean, you got hospitals getting bombed out, and you got doctors still trying to work on kids and I mean that's the thing too. I mean, you get a kid that's blown half up. I mean, you don't see that in an urban, even take the worst urban area in the US. I don't, you may have some bullets or whatever, but I don't think you're seeing that kind of carnage on a regular basis. So I would think that that would do something too. But again, I don't have that reference um, to ask anyone. But I would think, just my gross assumption that it would be different to some degree.
It might be, but it largely depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you said the smells, that's something that sticks with me to this day. That's a part of my PTSD. The
Mm-hmm.
smells, the smell, you never forget them. You never forget that smell of burning human flesh, or human flesh has been rotting in the sun for days.
Yeah.
You don't forget it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sports fan, Spartans Den was asking about what's the most crazy thing he did. I want to save that. So again, I'm going to recommend the Spartan Den. We're definitely going to do a gray area show. Again, gray area is broadcast Sunday evenings, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the BMU network, and certainly it's also simulcast here on the Spartan network as well. But we might want to hold that question for
Yeah,
something
that's
more
why I didn't.
along those lines. So like I said, that's why I keep trying to bring it back to the movies, because we keep getting deep into
Yeah, and
The
I'm
real
sorry.
stuff,
This is
right?
the real
it's
stuff, and
just
I want to
partially my
save some
fault
of it.
because I'm such a dork when it comes to military stuff. And
Yeah.
when Major, I'll be honest with you, bro. If you live closer, we were been having several beers and talking about this all fucking day long. I am such a geek with this stuff. Like I can tell, I have a closet of full of stuff in my closet, like. And I usually have a display like military stuff. I have medals. I have pins. I have been given to. Like, hang on a second. 1 second.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
Now, entertaining wise, for me, the Black Hawk Down movie was entertaining. And as far as personality wise goes, the Delta guys that I met, the personalities are a 1-to-1 match as the personalities are in the Delta of the Delta Force characters, the guys who play the Delta Force characters in Black Hawk Down.
right.
That really is how Delta is. Like they don't give a shit. Like all the dumb shit, the regimented, uh, high and tight structure and stuff like that. They just, it's like, why? It has nothing to do with my mission. What am I doing? This is dumb.
Yeah.
Why
What you got
bother
there,
with it?
Gurmy?
So this is from my collection. This is a coin that one of my buddies gave me from his unit. And this one is from CQ when he hit his 15 years from his Survivor Day. This is one of my pride and joys. So I always display some of my stuff out. But I have a small apartment, so I have a shitload of stuff in storage I
Right.
can't display. And like when I get my new place eventually, I'll have all my stuff in the background, like my flags and everything. Like this is I'm a geek for this stuff.
Yeah.
This is like I'm a geek for everything, comic books, movies, stuff like that. But military, I'm a dork. I dive in so hard, and it's not even funny.
I got
So
you.
this is my fault. I'm going back into it, right?
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
apologize for everybody's watches. Blame the Ghost of Sparta. He picked the topic and he brought one of the best military guys he knows on there, and that's kind of going around in circles. I'm sorry.
All right. So let me ask Mancho another movie question. Since you agreed with my Vietnam list, so you got Deer Hunter, Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket. Out of those three, which one is the most memorable out of those three? Or do you have another one to add? So a Vietnam, I know you got a couple of other.
Yeah, you left out Platoon, but
It didn't make the top three. Obviously, it was a great movie.
yeah,
It didn't crack that top three in terms of like impact. Because once you saw, I think Full Metal Jacket, I probably saw first. I saw Deer Hunter, even though it came out earlier. I saw that one later. But to me, that was different in that, again, it didn't so much focus on the war, but it focused on the effects. So you got the small Pennsylvania town where like half the men were sent to Vietnam or something like that. So again, how did it affect them? And then also, obviously, what it did to the soldiers, what it did to Christopher Walken, he lost his mind, or what. So
yeah,
it dealt so much with stuff that it did. It wasn't concerned about the bombs and the planes and the jungle warfare type of stuff. It dealt with the people that were impacted most by the decisions that were being made and how, especially in small town America, how that was impacted by. So that, again, that left, I saw it later. I saw it as an adult, for like in full. Like I saw clips over the years, but the first time I actually sat down and saw it in full, I was already an adult. And I was like, wow, this is a perspective about, certainly about Vietnam, about warfare in general. That's a story that seldom gets told. And that, again, especially compared to those movies, the more I think about those World War II movies from the 40s and 50s, from those Hollywood pictures with James Cagney, the more I resent them. Because it, like I said, it was basically like, it was like that scene out of Captain America: First Avenger, where it's like the Star Spangled Man scene, and it was like a lot of that kind of stuff. It was just like, yeah, this isn't the real what it was. And Full Metal Jacket, in terms of, again, what going through boot camp, especially in that times, what it did to people and what it did. There were probably a lot of Leonards out there that we probably don't know about that, went AWOL or whatever the term is, flipped out or whatever, that we'll probably never know
Section
about.
8.
What's that?
Section 8.
Section 8, yeah, that we just won't know about. How many men were that, or like I said, we all know about the PTSD and stuff that they had when they came home. So again, the films that really dealt with that side of, when people in high places are making these decisions, like they're not counting the cost of the decisions that are being made. And then Apocalypse Now, that was, to me, that's the most. It has some of the most memorable scenes in it, obviously, but it was definitely, I think, probably the most stylized. I think of the films, probably the less realistic, I think, out of the three films, even though it had these powerful, the flight of the choppers and all that stuff, very memorable. But break it down in terms of your Vietnam era movies. Where would you rank, guys, or do you think Platoon is the best of them all? So I'd just like to hear your perspective on that.
Platoon is the most entertaining of them all to me.
Okay.
Overall, because that was a good movie from beginning to end. You know what I'm saying? It was just entertaining. But I put that.
Oh, shout out to Hamburger Hill. That was also Vietnam too, right?
Yeah, it was. Don
Yeah.
Cheadle was in that movie. I remember Hamburger Hill. That one I watched as a kid.
Hmm.
over and over and over again. Um, what else? I'm like you. I didn't watch Deer Hunter until I was an adult.
Hmm.
It's a movie I always heard about,
Yeah.
and everyone said it was good, but no one told you to watch it. No
Yeah.
one was like, "Oh man, you gotta watch it." And I never understood. I noticed that, and I was like, "Wait, no one ever tells you to watch this film." But when you ask about it, everyone says it's really good. Then I watched it. I was like, "Oh, this is why."
Yeah.
You said it was called Deer Hunter?
The
Yeah,
Deer Hunter. Yeah.
the
I
Deer
haven't seen
Hunter.
that one.
Yeah. 1979, 79, 78, 79.
Yeah,
That it came out.
yeah,
And yeah, but I think it won an Academy Award best. I don't know if it was best film that year, but it had a number of Oscar nominations and wins. But again, you're because I don't think one. I think it might have been too close. Because again, Vietnam we pulled out like 75, right? That's when this last chopper came out. And you saw them scenes where they throwing a chopper off the plank and all that kind of stuff, and it might have been too close. Like I think the country was still kind of healing or just trying to get over Vietnam, and already we're getting these movies talking about, yeah, this is how Vietnam screwed up a lot of people, and this is how it left a lot of these towns without their sons coming back. So it might have been too sensitive, which is maybe the reason why people didn't want to see it. It felt too close. You know what I mean? There was no time to reflect on where we were or what we did or and that sort of thing. So maybe that could be the reason why a lot of people haven't seen it or were steered away from seeing it, because it was just too painful for those who had to endure those times, for our parents or those older siblings that we might have had that might have dealt with that stuff.
yeah, yeah. I don't. But again, wait. Because I want to ask you a question. The other one,
Mhm.
which one is better? I have to say, okay, there's Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, and
Deer Hunter.
Deer Hunter.
And again, if you want to add Platoon, you said Platoon was, and I don't know if you
No,
remember
no, 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 no.
Hamburger Hill. I vaguely remember. I got to watch that one again.
Yeah, yeah, same here. But Apocalypse Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but um, the realism in Full Metal Jacket during boot camp, like how accurate that is.
Yeah,
Like people don't even know. Like that is 100%
yeah,
real. That yes, it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
And it's like I said, when I was a basic, the one thing I feared most was, okay, I'm gonna get in trouble for laughing.
For laughing.
I'm gonna get in trouble for they're gonna get me. They- but I was one of the more mature people, if not the most mature person there, you know.
Mhm.
So they didn't really
Well,
bother.
you had the background also, right? I mean, again, your dad and you come from that lineage, so to speak. So.
Yeah, right. So I knew what I was getting myself into.
Mhm.
But it's just, and plus I had a bunch of other uncles and aunts who joined like the Air Force. I got a cousin joined the Coast Guard. So military is through and through in my family, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so like, okay, we got Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, and the other one's the Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter hits me. That hit me in two ways because that I remember feeling sick after watching that film.
Hmm.
Like I really did.
Yeah.
So grooming, brace yourself. It's a 3-hour movie, and I felt sick after when the credits rolled. My stomach, I felt sick on the stomach. Okay, not for the reasons you're probably thinking either. It's just I was in the
The
army.
3 hour part doesn't bother me. I'm just curious how is the movie because I'm gonna look it up. I'll find
Wait,
see
okay,
what it's
okay,
like.
check this out. It starts off slow,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but it's worth it when you make it through that part. When they actually there's a wedding, and then right after the wedding, the guys go out and go hunting. You slog through that part.
Mm-hmm.
Just okay, enjoy the rest. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it shows you the closeness of the characters and everything. But anyway, the realism of how that kind of thing affects you. Like, notice he was out of the army, but he was still wearing the uniform, walking around town. Mr. Bennett.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was out of the army, but he walked around in his Class A uniform. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, wait, is he in the army still? Or I'm like, how's he? I'm a Green Beret. He is too. How? I don't wear my shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah.
dressed like that. But anyway, it was like how it affects people. Like I think that's one of the things that really got to me. You know what I'm saying? The war and what happens during war when they get captured and all that stuff like that. I was like, that didn't bother me. It's
Mm,
fucked up. It is, but how all that experience affected them, that's what got to me, and that's real because that
yeah.
kind of stuff does happen. You know, um, I don't know, but the Full Metal Jacket, dude, that's spot.
That lands with me on so many levels.
Yeah,
Like I
the
said,
Full Metal
the
Jacket,
boot camp,
dude.
the
Yeah,
boot camp scene, the urban warfare scene, and just the interaction, just the when they're in the between stuff and the guy sitting next to a dead body. Hey, I want to introduce you to my friend here.
Ahab,
Yeah,
Ahab, the Arab.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to say Full Metal Jacket is the better one out of all of them. But yeah, yeah,
And that was a Scorsese. Scorsese did that
yes,
one.
it was. Yes, it was. Deer
Yeah,
Hunter was a gut punch, though, man. No,
yeah,
no, Full Metal Jacket was a gut punch. Deer Hunter was a nut shot. That was a kick in the balls. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It
yeah.
really was. But because even when I showed it to I was in the army, right? And I decided because I watched it in college.
Okay.
I watched it for the first time in college. And when I got in the army, I said, "Yeah, I'll show you guys this. We're looking for some shit to do on the weekend. We didn't want to go
Mhm.
out, so I was like, hey, it was a good movie to watch." I said, you know what? I got an idea. So let's go to Blockbuster. Go to Blockbuster. Hey, you got Deer Hunter? Yeah. And so I'm like, pay dirt. I'm gonna fuck him up with this one. I knew what I was doing. So I knew what I was doing, right? So I showed it to him, and they're enjoying the movie. First, when they were out there hunting and everything, like, Harris, what the fuck is this, man? Like, when is anything gonna happen? So, like I said, grooming starts off slow. Then they got to the Vietnam shit. Like, they got super quiet when the Vietnam shit was happening. Like, they couldn't take their eyes off the screen, right? And so then Buddy gets home, and then they're like, okay, all right, all right. But then the end happens again. You could hear a snake fart in Indonesia. They were so quiet.
Yeah.
Then the end happens. The credit rolls. Everyone looks at me. Harris, what the fuck, dude? You trying to make us slit our wrist?
Man, oh my gosh. Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like
Yeah.
it was like that was super impactful. But I gotta say, man, pound for pound, Full Metal Jacket gets it because you're right. You don't know how many people. Like even when I was basic training, there was like 5 people who tried to commit suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, try to unalive themselves. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is basic training. What are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, question. The soap is that a real thing?
That's a real thing. Yes, it is. That really is a real thing.
I'm sure they didn't cave his ribs. They were laying him in.
Yeah,
I'm
but
thinking he should have been in the MP or something because cracked ribs or some cracked sternum. You know how hard those blocks of soap are?
yes. Yeah, I had to shower with them. I do know how hard they are.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you basically hit someone like a stone object, and he hit like 40, 50 shots. And the thing that got me at the end was the guy at the end who didn't want to hit him, right? He was like, it's like, no, I want go ahead. Then he hit him like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, he did like
You
five
know
or
what I'm
six
saying?
times, dude. He hit him like
It's
5
like,
or 6
no,
times.
I don't
Man.
want
I
to
was
do
like,
this. Hit him.
Even like I remember, I can't remember which one it was with Tom Cruise when they did the Code Red. It's no official Code Red, but they used to do that pretty bad. Man, please correct me if I'm wrong, but not to the point they killed somebody.
Oh, a few good men.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
From my
the
understanding,
hazing.
that was a
Yeah.
thing at one time, but not anymore.
I don't know. I can't
listen,
speak to that.
what killed him?
They were came a Code Red, meaning he ratted on his commanding officer. And Cobra is like beating the shit out of him to teach him a lesson, but they beat the shit to the point they killed him.
No, well, what happened was he had a condition, a respiratory type of condition. They stuffed the rag down his mouth, and because he had this respiratory condition that went undiagnosed or what have you, because the doctor gave him like a clean bill of health, you know, he died in the process. Like they put the in the go
Oh
something
yeah.
about he started bleeding through his
Well,
mouth and
here's the thing.
everything.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
they started like a lactic acidosis. I've seen
Yeah.
that movie so many times. So
Well, the
he
thing
had
is,
this acute lactic acidosis thing that's what ultimately killed him. But the fact that they hazed him to begin with, and then they tried to cover it up, saying he just So that was
an idea how many drones crash and run into people, killing them, and someone blows himself up, and all this kind of bullshit that happens out there, and people die during training. Here's the thing: if that happened in real life, that's how you know that movie was bullshit. No one in the army would be liable. Again, it went undiagnosed. They're operating this way under the assumption that he had a clean bill of health.
right.
So no, the army's off scot free, and everyone involved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like take SEER school for instance. That's survival, evasion. Shit, it's an acronym for something I forget. But anyway, they take you there and they do torture you, like for real.
Mhm.
No kidding, they actually do. Yeah. And I remember before I went, I was like, "Hey man, is it true what I'm hearing? Like they beat the shit out of you, everything out of there?" So well, they can't hit you with a closed fist. And they can't break anything. So I've heard they're breaking fingers and stuff like that. He's like, well, they can't break any bones and they can't hit you with a closed fist. I was like, really? Like, you think you're gonna break me if you can't hit me with a closed fist? I get there, man. And they put you in the woods. You're supposed to lay a nap to another place, right? And you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught. Like there's too many people out there. They got fucking dogs and everything. But anyway, dude, this big dude, about 6'2", 6'3", every bit of 270 pounds, open hands, slaps me in the fucking face so hard. Like, I've never been dizzy off of a slap. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Then he asked me questions again, and I'm saving this part a lot of this for the gray area. Smack, like in the same spot, dude, in my face. Oh, I would rather him punch me than do But anyway, my point is, there are schools in the army where you do learn how to endure torture and stuff like that, and it's not just physical torture. They do other stuff, like I'll tell you, like in the gray area, because I really do want to tell you now, but I'll say that for. But yeah, it's mental torture, mental stuff that they do. But my thing is, if someone has a condition that goes undiagnosed, but you're in SEER school, I mean, how are they liable for that? That's the purpose of the school.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get beat up. You're gonna be out there in the cold weather, like 2 degrees outside, and they're gonna wet you up with a hose a lot.
Oh, you're talking about SEAL training, correct?
SEER school.
Yeah. It's a lot of training to do. There are a lot of documentaries out now that show a glimpse, a small glimpse, like it's like a teasing of a dream kind of thing. You're poking your little pee in there, but you go and get it. Actually, it's the documentaries don't even show you. I've seen it with people who actually went through yep, nope, it's worse than that, 10 times worse. I know a person who went through SEAL training and he rang his fucking bell. He goes, I could not do it. I rang my fucking bell.
You talking about buds? Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about SEAL school. I'm talking about SEER.
No, I know. I'm just using that as an example. I'm bouncing off that.
SEAR or SEER?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I was doing, I mean, I was bouncing off that because it was Discovery was doing all these documentaries for a while of special force training, and they're not showing even half the stuff. They can't show the half the stuff, and that's one of the good example. That one is
SERE school.
The what we're talking about the movies thing earlier. Same thing with that. The whoever came up with the idea of doing special training documentary had to get okay from the government. They couldn't go in their cameras like, hey, okay, let me see how you do this and this and this. Come on, and action. No, they picked what they went on the air. I promise you that. And Mandry will back me up on that on a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, just
So I want to finish with the last question. Go ahead, Paul. You go first. I'll finish the last question.
Now, just how do you guys feel about like Rambo, for example?
Hollywood.
It's not war movie per se, but certainly First Blood, I think it almost borders just like on the outer edge, because obviously you're dealing with a Vietnam veteran and that situation going back home and whatnot. I wouldn't necessarily put it in the quote unquote war category, but that would be just outside the perimeter of that, and obviously it blew up into this franchise and all that kind of stuff. But I thought the First Blood movie, I thought could be almost kind of in that post Vietnam type of era. And if they would have just left it at that, I think it would have been even looked at even more favorably now than back then. But once they made him Superman or whatever, then I think it took on a life of
Super.
its own. Because
Probably
the
not
original
Superman.
script was he was supposed to die at the end of that first film. It wasn't supposed to be this
I didn't know
string of
that.
sequels, but Hollywood is, yeah. In fact,
Hollywood.
you can even look up the original ending. I think either Troutman shoots him or he shoots himself, something like that. It's out there, like the original ending to First Blood.
I'll tell you a modern film that's actually really good. That and I'm happy that we finally got a good Green Beret movie. Finally, it's called The Covenant. You can find it now on Amazon Prime. Jake Gyllenhaal stars in it. We finally got a good Green Beret movie, everybody.
Speaking
Finally.
of Green Berets, what did you think of did you ever see the original one? Was that 1968 with Lee Marshall? I think Jim Brown was in it, and did you ever see that one?
The Dirty Dozen, or I saw the one.
I thought there was a movie around the same time. It might have been Dirty Dozens, I think was one, but I thought there was an actual Green Beret film. Let me see if I can quickly find that one. But I thought it was like 1968 or 67.
The John Wayne? You talking about the one with John Wayne?
It was 1968, the Green Berets. Yeah, John Wayne. Who else? I thought Jim Brown was. Who else was in there? John Wayne, Jim Hutton, David Jansen.
As you're looking that up, Paul, I'm asking you guys a question.
Yeah.
So we're gonna finish up here.
He was in that?
Thought Jim Brown. He might have been. I might be getting the Dirty Dozen movie. I might be getting that confused then.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably.
because I saw I did see the one with John Wayne when I was a child. I was a little
Right.
boy when I saw that. But yeah, I did see it. Yeah, I did see that forever ago. It's total fake, total bullshit.
Right. But that's what I was saying earlier. A lot of those Hollywood films, it was like a stylized, like, again, this is like, these are our heroes. These are our super soldiers. They might have been like the original G.I. Joes. You know what I mean? It's that G.I. Joe concept might have came out of that. You know what I mean? They were trying to, give you this sort of, we got the biggest, baddest soldiers out there. So like I said, a lot of these movies were like propaganda films, but they really weren't trying to tell you the real in terms of how things work.
They were recruiting tools, and the thing
Exactly.
is, the truth of the matter is, the Green Berets are the best. Like, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in the gray area. Like, think of it this way: you got in the Army, you have the Airborne Rangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best, hands down, irrefutable, best combat soldiers on the planet. They're on par with, they're on equal footing, and they rival the Navy SEALs. Like, they have those guys have it all the time. We're the best. No, we're the best. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? They play pranks on each other. They wrestle, fight, and argue, and drink. They get drunk. These guys get together and do all kinds of stupid shit. But anyway, they're on par with the Navy SEAls. That's their rivalry. Green Berets, that's the best of the best. Then you have Delta Force, which is the best of the best of the best.
Okay.
You don't get any more elite than Delta Force. No SEAL Team 6, no Night Stalkers, nothing. Nothing is more elite than Delta Force. And yeah, that's just all.
So let me just ask you, not to give too much away, what decision goes into choosing, especially for something like, let's say, like the Bin Laden raid? If SEAL Team 6 wasn't necessarily the best or the ideal, why wasn't another more elite force? Because it almost botched, right? They got one chopper went down, blew up, or had to blow up the chopper that went down.
Yeah,
I mean, so it could have went left very quickly with that group. So why not send, if if you're gonna go ahead with it, like I said, we knew where he was all the time. Why not send your best of the best, so in that it's cleaner, so we don't hear about, all these missteps that might have happened along the way.
Okay, you've heard about that whole thing with Captain Ron, or whatever his name is. Tom Hanks played him. I'm the captain now. Captain Phillips. You heard about that, right?
I remember that.
And you know that SEAL Team 6 handled that, right? And now you heard about the Bin Laden raid. You know, SEAL
Right.
Team 6 and all that, right? Okay. What have you heard that the Delta Force has done?
You
Never.
haven't.
For a
That's
reason.
the idea, and that's why you don't send them on a propaganda piece. Getting Bin Laden is a propaganda piece.
Okay.
Again, I knew where he was years before we went and got him. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm gonna give
So
you
I
my
mean,
personal opinion on this really fast.
it
I
was
don't
it
think
was Obama's waving the flag. Hey, I'm awesome. I did this, so vote for me next time in my reelection campaign. You know what I'm saying?
so. Here's my opinion. I don't think SEAL Team 6 was going by themselves. I think Delta was there with them. They
They
just
may have,
gave the credit to SEAL Team 6
yeah,
because they can't say
because
anything.
you have to keep Delta secret. Notice no one really talks about it. Even the Delta guys who are out here doing interviews, they ask them, "Hey, what's the selection process like?" They're very vague. They're
I
very
only know
vague.
one person that admitted to me that he was Delta. One person, and he was years later. Who was out. Like it was like a long time. Like
Right, and they're
don't-
out.
yeah.
See, the thing is, Paul, Delta is so secret that officially on paper it doesn't exist, right?
Mm.
So, say like me, I was going to actually go to Delta selection had I not, had I not been injured, so injured that I couldn't continue. I was gonna at least go to Delta selection, right? And I was gonna do it until I made it. But, um, say you go and you make it, you go to Delta, you get selected, you make it through the OTC, and you get assigned to a squadron, right?
Mhm.
You're a Delta guy now, right?
Right.
If once you want to retire, you bring your retirement papers. They have to then send you back to a unit that you were a Green Beret, right? They have to send you back to Green Berets for you to out process out of
Mm.
the army because you can't in process nor out process through Delta.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can't. There's no. So again, plausible deniability. They can always say they don't know you, but you're on record. But
Yeah.
the thing is, your record with Delta is sealed, redacted, all that stuff, and
Yeah.
it's never going to be released. So
Gotcha.
Delta is just that secretive. You can't really talk about it. You can't really talk about. No one from Ground Branch is doing interviews about Ground Branch.
Mhm.
One guy has one guy, and he was so vague that it's like, huh? You know what I'm saying? But you get the general gist of what he was saying. But it's just, yeah.
Do they do like the voice manipulation and all that? The black.
No,
you
no, no, no,
just
no, 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 no. He was
okay.
he was on camera. He was
Okay.
you can see him. You can see him, but
Okay.
yeah, it's just Delta's too secretive. Delta was probably with him, like grooming says. But the thing is, the Black Hawk going down, that's common. That shit happens all the time. I've been in a Black Hawk crash.
Mm.
I've
What
been
is bad? There's bad ships. The bad
I'm saying,
helicopter.
helicopters aren't really good machines in general. Like they get shot down all the time, man. They break down all the time. They crash all the time. It's just like, why do we make something new, please? This time we can work. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
thought
it's
that's what well obviously transport. Again, I thought like the Harrier jump jet. I thought we were getting away from that altogether, having planes that can just kind of take off, vertical takeoffs and things of that nature. But helicopters, I guess they
They're
still have
there,
their
but
use.
they're not as well. They're for like pick up soldiers, like say like a SEAL Team 6 kind of thing.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
the technology's
transport.
not there yet.
That's the thing. To get bodies in one place or another, you would think you'd still need that. But you thought I remember the Harrier coming out like in the early '80s, and you just thought for a time that all like the helicopters was seeing like its last days because you would think you'd have all kinds of
Paul, I'll give you a
planes or
better
jet
example.
ships that would be able to have vertical takeoffs and landings similar to a helicopter.
So the normal wings like that, they have planes that turn the wings literally sideways and
Mm-hmm.
then go up and down. And that's usually like a carrier or something like that can bring soldiers. But again, the technology's not there for long distance, so they can probably do like from here to Texas, for example, or some like small trips. Because again, it burns a lot of fuel, those damn things. Because when you turn the how much gas you have to burn to get that speed up to go up and down, it's probably gallons. And like you're probably dumping gallons down the drain at the point.
Oh yeah,
So you
yeah, I
have to
can see
consider the cost and effect. What I was going to ask you guys, and we're going to close after this one. Name one movie. What was the word I'm looking for? One movie line that comes to your mind and is stuck in your head and you never can get out of your head. Because I got mine.
From a war movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
I got two, actually.
It's just Innocuous stuff for me, man. I mean, like I said, Full Metal Jacket is probably the one I got like the most quotes from. I mean, the scene when, and I don't know why it just bothers me to this day, but they're, I think they're in the urban warfare, and I think I think their leader got taken out, and then the newspaper guy, he asks a question of his friend, and he tells him to shut the f up. I don't, it was like it just came out of nowhere, but it just to this day I just laugh every time I hear it, because it was just it was so out of character in the just in the scene. It was just like, it was almost like, some lines, I don't know if you could rehearse it. I don't think they could rehearse that line, but that one I think gets me to an extent. But I mean, like I said, there was so many, like I said, that one has several. The drill sergeant. I mean, how many do you want? Because like every line out of his mouth was like a quotable line. It's like, didn't your mama give you any attention when you were a child? And then Gomer Pyle, shoots him.
Yeah.
He was just full of them, and he was like, and that was the thing, defiant until the end. I mean, the guy told him, was like, look, he's got a full magazine, he's locked and loaded, and he didn't break character. He didn't try to talk him down or anything. He was going to go out came in as a sergeant, was going to go out as a sergeant. So he came with that. That was like his last words was that, and what a line to go out on. So yeah, I mean, probably all my quotes are going to come out of Full Metal Jacket.
Same
Hey,
here.
what about you?
Same
Okay.
here. Your ass is like about 170 pounds of chewed bubble gum. Oh my gosh.
So mine are from two movies. I'm gonna say the line so you guys can get the first one. The second one you're not gonna get. Is a Need for Speed.
That was Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second one is it's from 13 Hours when towards the end when they were actually fighting, and the commander says, "You're not in charge." Like, no, I'm in charge now. Welcome to my world. And that line, I actually use that on one of my chefs. It doesn't fuck with him. I turned around and listen, motherfucker, I went to him. You're not in charge. I am. Welcome to my fucking world. He looked at him like, what the fuck? He came here looking like this. What the fuck you said to me? I'm like, I take that back. I've been watching way too many movies. You go, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, man. The thing is, like, he should have done that, because that guy was going to get everyone killed. But I mean, in real
fuck yeah,
life,
dude.
but in real life, it's like that. If like, say you got a like, there's this movie, Green Zone, with Matt Damon, right? And one of the most realistic things I've seen in there, there's a guy who comes in on a helicopter. And he's obviously a guy from CAG. CAG is another nickname for Delta Force, right? He's obviously a Delta guy, right? He says, "Hey, all right, thanks. I'm gonna come get him, and I'm taking him with me." And then Matt Damon's arguing, said, "No, you can't take him. I got a colonel waiting on him." And it's like, wait, you talking to a Delta guy like that? And Matt Damon's a warrant officer, right? Warrant officer clearly outranks him, but you're dealing with Delta Force. I mean, the Delta guys in his mind is probably like, "Fuck you and your colonel." You know what I'm saying? And the Delta guy kicks his ass, takes the guy's notebook off of him. I mean, like, that's real. Like, you don't fuck with Delta Force. If they need something, you give it to them.
I hear stories
You know
like
what
that all
I'm
the
saying?
time. Like a higher ranking officer would say something to him, like, "It says like, fuck you, I'm Delta. Like, don't kiss my ass. I just fought a fucking war out there
Well, the
or a
thing is,
battleground."
if you're interfering with the guy from Delta's mission, then yeah, he'll tell you, "Fuck you and your colonel." You know what I'm saying? Like, no, just give the guy what he needs so he can complete his mission, because his is higher
Yeah.
priority than yours. You know what I'm saying? The guy's probably operating on his own. That's the
So
weird thing. Like, he's over there, he's probably operating on his own. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He is. You don't out. You don't. Your mission does not out prioritize theirs. It does not.
Oh,
You know what
absolutely.
I'm saying?
Yeah. So, Maynard, I got a question for you now. A side question about we're talking about tonight. Later on, probably sometime in November, I like to do a whole show on 13 hours. Are you game on that? Because you're gonna give a lot of feedback, I think.
Yeah, November. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I get close because that's my I have the schedule up to November 9th. I'm gonna post more for that so I can keep up with it. So let's do final thought. Mr. President, you want to go first?
Yeah, like I said earlier, for me, four major areas that are most relevant to me is certainly my life experience. Like I said, the Cold War movies, certainly growing up. Fail Safe. If you haven't seen Fail Safe, you're not going to see a lot of obviously action or movement, but it's almost like a stage play. But the tension is so thick, and the ending is such where it'll leave you like it'll just leave you in a certain way. I'm still in a way after seeing that movie. In fact, I just saw it last month again. Definitely the Cold War was again the major part of my certainly reality growing up, and so that was powerful. Vietnam again, we're still I think have been affected by Vietnam. So, and I think the films of the time, weren't trying to sugarcoat really, what the ravages of war was, again, what it did to people. And I think they were powerful entries as because of that. And I think that whole scene, I think, helped us lose our appetite for major casualties. We haven't seen numbers like Vietnam since, and I don't think we'll ever see those kind of numbers again. Um, so I think that those two, and then you got World War II, and then like I said, you got the Civil War. But I like films that really show you the cost of war. Hopefully, in an effort that we don't do war again. It almost reminds me of, since this is the Hangout. Uh, there was a Star Trek episode where you had these two warring planets, and they were at war with each other for apparently hundreds, if not thousands, of years. And Kirk and the crew show up, and they go down to the surface, and it's like, "What? These places are beautiful. What are you talking about? What war? What are you talking about?" And the way the war was fought was like people would go into these machines and they would basically just vaporize themselves and say, "Oh well, we lost 20 million 2,000 casualties here or whatever." The computers were simulating the war effort, and people complied in order to steer away from the horror of war. Like, they were so afraid to go to like real war and destroy their civilization. They were willing to let a war go on where people were sacrificing themselves so that they wouldn't have to deal with the blood and the difficulty of it. So again, movies that show the horror of war, I think are for me the most powerful, not just in the battlefield, but also what it does to people in boot camp or what it does to the people back home. And so those movies are always going to be things where, again, I'm always going to promote those because I think that we really have to look at what are we doing. We have a huge industrial war machine out there, an industrial complex, and we're funding a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world. We're funding to a large extent, and I'm hoping people have the conversation. I'm not a pacifist, but I think we need to start really looking at what are we doing and how we could just let stuff go on that is taking life senselessly, and it doesn't matter who it is. um Men, women, children, hospitals, like nothing is off out of play. And but it's just a stain on humanity that we create these weapons of mass destruction that do things to people, and a lot of times we turn a blind eye to it. So again, not a pacifist, but I really think that we need to label things, and I think movies that really explore those human elements of what war does to people, I think are films worth seeing. And hopefully we can make some moves that we don't make the ultimate decisions, especially now when we got enough firepower to take us out many times over. One movie that we didn't talk about that certainly might be considered a war film, Oppenheimer, just came out. I mean, that's that really changed the course of history in ways that we're still dealing with today. So that's another one that you have to add to the list as well. So again, good discussion tonight. And again, I'm definitely looking forward to having Mandrell as a featured guest on the Gray Area Show and to continue this conversation about his experiences, because he seems like he has a lot to share, and definitely looking forward to giving him a platform to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be here for that on that episode. They'll be interviewing me, and I do have a lot of stuff to say. Depends on what the questions are. But look for me there. Also, look for me on my YouTube channel called The Big Picture. I'm planning on doing a stream this week. I'm going to be having you guys will see it posted up probably Monday. In any case, as far as movies go, I agree with Paul. The ones that show the horrors of war are the most impactful, always have been. And people, I think there's something that people should really see and look at before they start waving the flags of war. I know 9/11 happened and things like that galvanizes people, but you can't rush into something like war based on emotion. You have to be methodical. You have to be well thought out. You have to make sure you're going after the right people, the whole 9 yards. Because it's one thing to fight a country, then you have a clear cut enemy. But with Iraq and Afghanistan, we're fighting against an ideology. That's shared from people from different countries. Some people in Yemen, countries in Africa, Iraq, Afghanistan, Jordan. These people were everywhere. Pakistan's supposed to be an ally, but they were harboring bin Laden. So I mean, how do you fight an ideology? That's why we were at war for 20 years. We didn't have a clear cut. We weren't fighting against the country. So before you jump into start fanning the flames of war, really think about what you're doing. But like I said, also, like I said, there's movies like The Covenant. It's on Amazon Prime. Stream it now. That's a more recent one. It's a good one. Finally, a good Green Beret movie. So check that one out. But all right, that's it. For me.
Appreciate you. Yep.
I know. I did it again. I agree with guys saying. These war movies show the dark side of war, because everybody sees war like it's like a video game, but it's not. People lose their lives in there. It's a serious thing, so we have to keep that serious when we watch these movies and make them. But really fast, a schedule update tomorrow night. We're on a Gray Area. We're doing. I have it right here. Where is it? Money. Where are we going to talk about money? About the Gray Area, about the money tomorrow night, 9:30, BMU, and here, of course. On next week on the Spartan Arena on my channel, we will be talking the sound of music of our life, how music has made a difference. And next Saturday, we're talking Captain America versus Master Chief, the class of heroes. I'm actually looking forward to that one. Mendry, you might like this next topic I have on the 10th. The 10th, we're talking about I don't need a man in my life. So yeah. And on the 12th, we're gonna be going over Kingsman, the series, the movie, and I will leave it to that. And the two Saturdays from now, we're going to me and Paul will be at Comic-Con. We will be off. We might hit streams here and there a little bit through the con, but we won't be streaming that night. If something might change, maybe the last minute, I don't think so, because that's gonna be a long day for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, hope you have your stepmate ready to go, because you're gonna break your record that day easily.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for that. That's why I say in shape.
So we will be meeting up with CQ and the pop culture crew. On top of that, I want to get a group picture of all of us that day too. That'd be cool, all of the whole group. And it'll be great. Man, we'll be back on talking about 13 hours. Hopefully, we see more. What's your schedule now, dude? I'm like, are you able to do more streams? What is it? So I get an idea, so I can invite you more.
Mandrell, that's for you.
Did he fall asleep?
I think so. You might have
Did he
stepped
pull a
away.
Black David on us?
I don't know. I doubt it.
So, except that that's it for right now. So, I don't have any more anything else. Paul, anything else? Last
We
plugins really
good.
fast.
We good. Nope.
Mandarin, any plugins really fast before I go, or are you still away? I think he's still away. So, as always, this is the Spartan XQ Network. Yes, I finally got it right at the first shot. I am Ghost of Sparta. He is the president. Mandrell, as always, stay fresh, stay safe, and